First of all, appreciate as we work through your. You didn't know if you were going to make payroll in October and November. I think you're past that point at this point. Unfortunately, what's recorded in Encode because of changes in personnel, but more importantly, because Encode was never actually fully implemented for the city in 2016. Odom is not alone in that regard. I am aware, and you can touch base with your counterparts. Gregory is in the same situation. Gregory purchased Encode 3 years ago. They never have ever actually installed it on their system. Part of the difficulty that you'll be facing is that there are actually two different upgrades from Encode for your system when you installed it in 2016. The next upgrade, it's a completely different animal. And so that's hopefully part of the process that we can accomplish. When I joined some of your council members at TML in October this last year, I visited with the Encode representatives there and just laid it out on the line. Whether it's Taft, whether it's Odom, whether it's Ingleside, whether it's uh, Gregory, all of those communities need more help than what they have. So when Sal and I first actually started to take a look at what's in the system, one of the things that we encountered is that although there were efforts to uh, establish more basic protocols for the processing of accounts payables because of turnover in staff and things of that nature, those improvements went to the wayside. Part of what we hope to accomplish moving forward is an accounts payable process, which recognizes number one, the city has a purchase order form. That form is supposed to be used by everybody when they're going to spend more than X amount. What's the X amount? That's what's set forth in your purchasing policy. Policies provide the guideline for how you conduct your operations and your activities. They help people know who's responsible for what. Off the top of my head, I can't tell you what the purchasing authority for your city administrator is, but I know that above that is the mayor. And so right now, as the mayor and the city administrator get to know each other better, I heard 5 months, but it's going to be another 5 months before it's smooth. For instance, it was probably 5 minutes to 9 today when we came to the realization we don't have donuts for this morning. Well, okay, it's not our fault that the donut shop closed down. Nonetheless, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare anybody. And so policies is something as part of the overall process. We hope to visit. Last year, as part of your policies used in adopting your budget, you were going to set aside for some reserve monies. Had a goal of 25% of your operating expenses to be set aside, and that was going to take 5 years. That's 5% per year that you would expect your cash balances to grow. In addition to that, this current year budget included a line item that provided for the council to have a contingency reserve line item to spend money on something that wasn't necessarily foreseen at the beginning of the budget process. So Sal made reference to the fact that the current year budget is not properly entered into Encode. Well, that makes it kind of hard to take your operating reports that Encode does generate and to know whether or not you are on track or not. I will tell you that we have looked at various things such as your sales taxes. This is on page 3 of your packet. Your monthly sales taxes are tracking fairly well, close to what they were last year. And on an annual basis, the last 3 or 4 years are about the same. Within that sales tax number is your street maintenance tax. Street maintenance tax, to be assessed, is subject to an election every 4 years. You must have an election this next year to continue your street sales tax. Put it on the list, folks.
That's for 2025, right? Yeah.
Correct. It's every 4 years. Sorry. Time flies when you're having fun.
By the time it's flying.
There you go.
And so the good news is relative to your budget and expectations, sales taxes this year are in line. Whew. When TxDOT puts in a bypass, your sales taxes are going to drop. I think Sinton sales taxes dropped 30% and stayed that way for about 6 years. Keep it in mind. Another source of your income has to do, moving on to page 4, has to do with your ad valorem taxes. This information, by the way, comes out of the Municipal Advisory Council of Texas. They make much of their data available. The website exists for the folks who engage in the business of issuing debt for municipalities and for the folks who buy and sell and trade municipal debt.
Can you make that bigger?
Sure.
I can't really see it on.
I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to do that. Does that help a little bit?
Maybe a little bit bigger.
Okay, we're going to start losing stuff. And we'll stay with the graphs. The green graph represents your tax roll. Your tax roll has been growing. Why? Valuations on properties have been going up. Why? Inflation.
2 subdivisions also, like on and quite a bit of taxes.
Yes. And I don't know to what extent some of the more recent developments are outside of the city, but the city is providing utilities. That would be something to discuss, because an inside city limits rate structure as opposed to an outside of city rate structure is something to consider. The yellow graph represents the dollar amount of ad valorem taxes. So the citizens can look at this and they can say, well, okay, yes, as our valuations have gone up, the tax rates have come down so that the amount of tax dollars collected by the city are relatively stable. The decrease in the yellow from 2 years ago to this year is because you didn't have the same amount of debt service involved with your tax collections. Your M&O tax dollars are basically flat. And for round numbers, you can call that $800,000. For this next year, and it's one of the things on your debt calendar, you're waiting for your certified tax rolls. But in the meantime, you have received preliminary numbers from the Chief Appraiser's office. Those preliminary numbers were provided April 30th. You have $152 million on your tax roll. There were apparently very few protests, approximately 2 houses. That doesn't mean that the chief appraiser is going to certify your tax rolls earlier, because he certifies all the tax rolls all at once. But the due date for that and the goal for that is today. So next week, you can expect to receive your certified tax rolls from the tax office, which will be used by the tax office, tax assessor collector, to make your truth in taxation calculations. You might recall last year there were 3 different tax rates that we talked about. One of them is the no new tax revenue rate. One of them is the voter approved tax rate, which is basically last year tax dollars plus 3%. And the third one was the de minimis rate. The de minimis rate is that rate which allows small municipalities with less than 30,000 people to raise $500,000 of cash. That rate is subject to a citizen petition election. And after the city council initially voted to pursue the de minimis tax rate, it seemed clear with the use of Facebook and things of that nature that there was going to be citizen resistance towards that 25 cents increase in the tax rate. And the decision was made to stay within the voter approved tax rate. That differential is what led to the defunding of your police department. Based upon the April 30th numbers, what is on page 6 of your packet are the different tax rates that I just mentioned. The no new revenue rate of 53 cents, the voter approved rate of 55 cents, the de minimis rate of 86 cents. For budgeting purposes, I believe it would make sense for us to move forward with the voter approved rate of 55 cents.
How much was last year?
54 something.
No,
54, yeah, it's 54 something.
54? I was asking, I'm sorry.
5407.
54 cents is just a half a cent.
Right. I mean, we're within a penny,
Yeah, it's half a cent.
and that's what they would refer to as the law of large numbers.
Good enough.
And so I hope we're working our way down that calendar that we expect to complete. Publication of the no new revenue voter approved tax rates on tax office and appraisal's website and submission to the governing body. When the tax assessor collector receives the certified roll, as well as some information which your city administrator needs to certify, specifically the debt service during this next year, the tax assessor collector will make the calculations. Last year, her calculation certification was dated July 31st. I would expect it to be by August 5th this year. And if you've got August 5th for that calculations and certifications, it may be conceivable that at your first council meeting in August, the council could consider and vote upon what is typically referred to as not to exceed tax rate. That puts everybody on notice. Ladies and gentlemen, we expect to issue or adopt a tax rate of 55 cents. That allows the notification process, which the tax assessor collector has to go through, to begin. You will then have until the end of September to actually vote on a tax rate. Now, I can hear the tax assessor collector beating me over heads and shoulders because I just said the end of September. For her to get her stuff done by the end of September, you need to target the middle of September, more like September 15th.
And that's for, on our calendar here, we're looking at what for September?
The very bottom. Keep in mind, before you can set a tax rate, you have to approve the budget. Why? Because it's the budget expenses that minus your sales taxes and other sources of revenues that determine what your ad valorem tax revenue needs to be.
So if we go with the voter approved tax rate, we really don't have this where we have this on the calendar, deadline to call for an election. That's not.
That won't happen. You won't have an election.
You won't do an election, you just
So-
go and you approve what they're suggesting, and that's it.
So we can just kind of cross that off on the calendar.
Yeah.
And for discussion purposes, I see that September 3rd would be your typical council meeting on the first Tuesday. Is that still the typical?
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 weeks later is September 17th.
What was it, September what?
17?
So we're gonna go ahead and add that to the calendar, September 17th? To the bottom, everybody's good with that? So then the next one, deadline to adopt the tax rate above the voters, so that's, we can just cross that out, right? We're gonna stick with the voter approved rate.
Does that have to be like an official action by the council?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Where they-
There's their mandated verbiage on your resolutions.
Your stay was suggested, or if you want to go up.
It's gonna be like a vote,
The
right?
only thing is, like last year, we were gonna go up, but then we didn't.
It was up and down, right?
Yeah, it's up and down.
We gotta do this, we gotta do that.
You've got other deadlines to meet if you're gonna go that route.
Right.
And publicize it in the paper and all that, and then send it to the elections people and all that.
And that's where the petition's down, and if you got a 10-day petition, all that, so, yeah.
You don't have to go through none of
None
that.
of that, so it's easy.
And that was the first time we've ever,
Yeah.
we've always stayed with the suggested.
And so working, I don't know that it's reasonable, maybe it is. Meeting of governing body to discuss tax rate, take record vote, and schedule public hearings as required. It's ambitious, but perhaps August 6th. Okay. That's why we're having this, because number one, we've got a 6-week period or an 8-week period in there that we can work with. I don't know the new rules in terms of telephonic participation. Uh, Okay, all right, so there might be a partial solution to it, assuming that that time of day doesn't have you flying over the North Pole or something. Yeah, your Zoom present does not count towards the quorum, I believe. A vote, yeah. Okay, so rolling back to 72 hours from the 6th, what is that, the 2nd? Um, So I'm just going to make a certification of the anticipated tax rate. By the way, the preliminary certified tax rate from the tax assessor collector is 107%. Now, for each of the last 4 years, it has exceeded 100%. How do you do that? Well, I suspect what it boils down to is that with the help of Linebarger, some of your old delinquent taxes have now been collected. That's not going to continue into the future, but it has an impact because the effective collection rate reduces your INS tax dollars that you need to collect. The information that she provided not that long ago showed that for 2023-24, the current year, your debt service collection from INS taxes needed to be about $24,000. She collected 34. How is that going to flow through and affect your tax rate? So we're going to be spending some time with the tax assessor collector to work through that process. Fortunately, your INS tax rate is like a penny and a half, if that much. And so it won't have a tremendous swing from one year to the next. But nonetheless, I'm just going to say here, certified tax rate August 2nd. No, I'm going to make it the 1st.
And is that done by council also, put on the agenda? Or?
The certification of the tax rates from the tax assessor collector's office. And so I'm trying to be mindful of what involves this body as opposed to your city administrator as opposed to the tax assessor collector. By the way, the reason we have this form as well as those other tax rates is because I asked and encouraged the city administrator to buy the $300 Truth in Taxation software. It's something that's published by the Linebarger firm on an annual basis. But it saves you at this point 6 weeks of waiting for the tax assessor collector to do her stuff and to tell you the numbers. And I don't know what the status is of your official newspaper. Is it the San Patricio News? Is it the Caller Times?
San Patricio.
And when does it come out? Thursdays?
Yeah.
Deadline is what,
Right. So these dates have to fit their publication schedule.
So if if we were to give them the information on the first, it wouldn't go, be posted until the following week, the following Thursday.
Correct.
But would the website suffice that?
No, it needs circulating.
Being that we have a website, you get posted on the website and then also publicized.
Yeah, it's gotta be a circulating
But sometimes
newspaper.
with these new laws, a lot of people don't have newspapers.
Yeah, but we do.
I think it says that if there's a publication in your area, you need to utilize it.
Okay.
As well as you have a internet that's posted.
But we don't have an ordinance saying that's our paper either.
No, but
That's what
I'm saying. We don't have an ordinance saying that San Patricio is our paper. We've never had one.
Which gives you the option of using the Caller Times.
Exactly.
It's just more expensive.
Exactly. And we have never had an ordinance saying that is our paper. And I've been trying to push that for the last 5-6 years.
But does it make a difference that they can publish on their website so that they can circulate a physical paper? Like, what is that? You know what I mean? Is that the same thing now? Like-
No, your attorney's telling you that just because you have a website doesn't mean you're not going to use a
yeah, their
paper.
website.
The San Pat website.
Oh, I see.
Like the primary source of news for a lot of publications is the website now.
Yes.
There's small percentages of, I mean, Caller Times physically shut down because they can't push it out, right? So I don't know if we can look at that, say as long as they post on their website, that we meet that requirement of publicizing it, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's, with the new laws, probably, because a lot of people don't have newspapers.
Right.
And we don't have an ordinance saying that is our official paper.
That's probably something we could look at, as long as they publish it on their website, San Pat.
It used to be the Odom Android.
Exactly. I said, we don't have one. I said, we don't have an ordinance.
Right.
And that's, it's in the book that we're supposed to give one. It's nothing in my looking to. You know, just things.
Well, that's something to look at.
Yeah.
But I think if you like publicize it in different areas, you're okay.
Yeah.
If you attempt it, and like the Effie said, you put it on your website, on our website,
It's Caller Times and, you know, that's what.
Facebook, you know, whatever.
It's just something that, you know,
I think it's just to give notice.
That's all it is.
And as long as you make that effort, publicize it, in this case, we have a website.
You can even put it in their water bill in an envelope.
there you go.
That's it. You've already done your part.
If it's not specific how to give notice, I don't think, if you just need to do it.
Right.
I know like I have certain things I have to give
Right.
notice and I can do newspaper, I can do website,
Exactly.
it just,
Yeah.
I just need to do it. And I need to have proof that I did it. So. I think-
But it does have to hit a certain date.
You have to have so much notice.
Okay.
And as to hitting a certain date, working from memory, I think it was like Monday in order to hit Thursday.
To publicize 72 hours.
To make the newspaper publication,
Right.
they needed 3 days in advance of that.
Right.
So if you need 72 hours notice, that's 3 days plus 3 days. So you have to know more than a week ahead of time what you're doing. If that is your source of publication. I'm wondering if this meeting to adopt might ought to be like September 10th. To give you a cushion in the event that you need it. You have your regular meeting on the 3rd. That's your final cuss and discuss with regards to your budget draft. And everybody's agrees, and then you make the final adoption the next week on the 10th.
I mean, I'm good to the 10th. Will you be here to see on the 10th?
I'm retired.
You didn't answer the question, sir.
Yes, I will.
So let's just do the 10th instead of the 17th, because did you say you're going to be in Rome on the 17th?
No, I'm being back on the 8th.
Of August.
So September.
No, September, you're out anytime.
September 5th.
Yeah, so anytime, guys. Just get it done.
So the bottom one is the 16th,
That was this,
that last one.
that was the
September 10th.
17th.
10th,
But
right
we
there.
moved it to the 10th.
This one. 10th.
Now, if we are going with the voter-approved tax rates, I'm not certain how many public hearings you have to have. And in addition to that, based upon your charter, what public hearings, if any, do you have to adopt a budget?
How many public hearings?
Are public hearings required for the budget?
It's one, I think we can do both of them in one day, probably.
Then we just do
Okay.
One, yeah, that's it, one, it's just one.
Okay,
Because we're not changing anything and
okay. So starting with the 6th as a time to say we're going to stay within the budget, the voter approved rate, with the idea of final adoption being on the 10th. With that, I think Saul and I have enough input from council to move forward with the tax assessor collector, because she's the expert as to whether or not these various notifications have to happen. You may not have to have more than one public hearing.
Okay.
Today's the 20th.
22nd.
Can we do the public hearing on the same
You're
day?
right, 20th, right.
Meeting
It's the
to adopt the
20th, I'm
tax
sorry.
rate.
Yeah, so it's
15 minutes.
So on the September 10th, when we meet to adopt the tax rate, we just have the public hearing before it.
Yep.
You know, at 6:30, we can have the public hearing on the 10th. And then we'll go through into the regular meeting and adopt.
Perfect.
Are-
So where'd you get this calendar
Hmm?
at? This calendar from?
It's out of the software Truth in Taxation.
Did you get the budget too?
Hmm?
Budget workshop, did you get that budget workshop?
Theirs was not this, it was more like multiple pages describing, you know, this is more precise, like this, more whittled down,
That was nice.
easier to follow.
Fill in the blank, right, Paul?
So the notice and everything can just go out the week before.
Mhm.
7 days.
Okay, well, that provides a good stuff for us, Sal and I, to move forward with. Are there other dates which you want to go ahead and set aside now for budget workshops and or council meetings to go through the budget? I would suggest perhaps 2 dates. One is which your city administrator will provide you with his recommended budget. That process anticipates that council will have already provided expectations and desires with regards to revisions to last year's budgets, so that you've got one meeting to look at a draft and then he can take the comments from that meeting to come up with a final draft. And then after that would be final approval. Does that seem viable?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I think August 10th would be a good date. That gives you, well, it gives us, 3 weeks
Mhm.
from today. 1, 2, 3, yeah, that gives y'all 3 weeks. We'll come back August 10th, then we'll talk numbers.
Question, is that what?
Well, you have August 6th already, so August 10th is a workshop.
Question, is that with the old software or new software we're gonna be getting? This new budget stuff, with all these budget lines, is it gonna be the old software with all these numbers,
It's gonna look a lot like that.
but it's gonna be, I'll talk about that.
All right.
Well, he has a separate, like what he provided last year, the book that says,
Okay.
whatever, that's what he's going to provide.
Okay,
you
Yeah, it's
to
a
show-
spreadsheet.
Yeah,
It's,
it won't be pulled from Encode. It would be just,
that's okay.
yeah,
When do you get, Encode training?
17th of
September.
Oh, shoot,
September.
yeah. That's,
Yeah, but that's more on the back end stuff, like
Okay.
that. Once y'all approve the budget, then we can go back into
Okay,
Encode and get it all straightened out.
all right.
So we're meeting August 6th to discuss the tax rate. So then we can meet August 10th for a workshop. In the morning. And then at that point, we'll get a chance to kind of look at different numbers that were worked on to see how certain things fit into the budget. Then maybe we can come back on the 24th. That'll give you guys, that'll give you, Mr. Day, 2 weeks to kind of take the discussion from August 10th. To work on whatever discussion we had August 10th, and then on the 24th, we come back, kind of look at what you worked with or worked on, and then we should be ready for the start of September to make those decisions. Does that work?
I think so. Because okay, we'll work
That's
with the
good.
tax assessor collector and let you know if this is viable.
So August 10th workshop, first draft, and August 24th, the second draft. So, okay, good.
So then have it. Who will need it?
Just send us that.
I intend to.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna send it to him and let
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
all right.
that's what I'm saying. Sal will send it.
Yeah, that's a big number.
And I just want to reiterate, like last year, you know, each one of you always say, hey, if you have anything to talk to Mr. Bain about, you know, you have questions about what he's working on during this time, just call him. You know, you have his number, call him. If you want to sit down with him in person so you can see the numbers and understand the numbers. I think, Yolanda, you sat down with him last year. Sometimes it's better to sit down with him because he can explain things better. So you guys have his number, reach out to him. And then he can always follow up with us as far as discussions and so forth. So,
As long as he brings donuts.
yeah, Sal. The late guy always brings the donuts. That's the
I'll
rule.
bring double.
Me and Mr. Bain were here at 8 o'clock waiting for you. You were crossing the Nueces
You
River
came
Bridge
in
at
from
9.
Corpus, you could bring Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
It is.
Tacos works too.
Yeah.
I'll get you talking.
From where you live to here, there's at least 4 donut shops. At
Probably
least
more.
4, probably more, but at least 4.
For
Okay.
Sal.
I don't need this, I don't need donuts. Well, I like donuts, I just don't eat donuts.
I'm sorry.
My favorite are the apple fritters. They make the best, nobody makes them.
Which ones?
Apple fritters,
Place
Oh,
one
yeah.
in Philly.
they make the best.
Sometimes, once it's done, I don't come over here.
They have donuts out. Can I get some?
So this is just for our records.
Yeah, just to work off of. Like I said, it's just preliminary numbers we pulled from current budget. And like I said, it's kind of hard to really get a strong, hard number.
Mr. Dane, can you kind of share with us what you've seen so far and where we are this year versus last year?
Sure.
And we're good, like the budget, everything, the things is.
Yeah, we're,
Well, there are aspects of your operations which, on a preliminary basis, we have looked at. We have talked about sales taxes. We have talked about ad valorem taxes. Your garbage fund, your solid waste. This is a report out of Encode as of June 30th. It is based upon what is recorded, irrespective of whether or not it's right. It's what's in your system. Starting with the current budget amounts, that's what was approved for the 23-24 budget. Because there is a balance there, I know that the budget has not been entered correctly. We intentionally zeroed out this, that,
A little bit bigger.
okay, let me know, just let me know.
There we go.
Okay. Using the garbage fund because it's the simplest and easiest of the funds. We expected $550,000 of revenues. That was after a rate increase because of the increased cost charged by your solid waste contractor. That would be Republic. There is a margin, a profit, if you will, normally incorporated into solid waste collections. And we expected the garbage fund to be able to transfer to other funds $124,000, which would leave you with zero for the year. Okay. Right now, at 75% of the year, your revenues are at 74% of budget. That's pretty good. Your expenses look a little low. And one of the things that Sal and I have worked on has to do with the timing and the entry of your accounts payables. You have had significant turnover in your administrative staff, and it's not necessarily understood that by way of example, August 1st invoice is actually a July expense. And so one of the things that we have done is look at, on a monthly basis, what's been recorded. So some months seem to have 2 water bills from Sam Pat recorded. That's $110,000 in 1 month. And so by the time you adopt your budget, we hope to have identified for certain those areas which have not performed as expected. One of the things that we have identified in regards to your water revenues, 69%. What's going on there? Well, do you realize that out of 1,500 customers, you've got 200 customers that have dead meters? The meters don't work. They're being billed based upon an estimate. We have begun the process of trying to collect from other communities. What is their water meter replacement program? Because you need one. You need one badly. Because a dead meter is simply money out the door. It'll cost you $500 per meter. But at the same time, if you're losing $200 a month or $150 a month, you can't afford not to do it. I realize that we've finished the calendar, which was one of the goals for today, or at least drafted a calendar. When are we going to talk about your capital improvement program?
In a little bit.
Okay.
So what I've learned over the last year is they use the 6 months estimate. So they go back 6 months, but some of these meters have not been working for years. So a year ago, I may have been paying $100 a month in water, but because my meter's not working, they're going back 6 months. Well, my meter stopped working, so my estimate is lower. And as the years go by, their estimate gets, because now say my meter hasn't been working for over a year, and they go look back, and for the last 6 months, I've been paying $63 a month, then that's what they're going to go with. That's 6 months. So they'll go 60, so it's kind of strange the way they've been looking at it, but I mean, it's summertime and some people's water bills have kind of stayed the same. And I know people who have been filling up their swimming pools, the people watering plants more often, but the water bill stays the same. And sitting down with Angela, she's like, well, that's because it's an estimate. And I mean, water bills should be going up in the summer and not staying steady. So,
So we're gonna talk about maybe getting new meters when, right now?
well, in this next budget year, try to budget for that part of the capital improvement project. There's over 200 meters.
Well, but your technology is 20-year-old technology. It's time for new technology. It's time for a new system.
It's been about 10.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
It's already time.
It's time, yeah. And we can talk about it now, or?
Oh, well, he's going to continue on with where we
Okay,
are.
so
And
we're
then,
gonna
yeah.
pick that up later, okay.
yeah, we'll go kind of.
Sure. At $450 a meter times 1,500 meters, it's $600,000.
Not bad.
And there are programs, whether it's the Water Development Board or otherwise. Your problem is you don't have audits. That's kind of an elephant in the room, folks.
Yeah, but
You have received I will refer to as a compilation for 2021, which is now being audited. What is the status of the 2 years since then? Because you're about to add a third year. In 3 months, you're going to add a third year. And so I don't know how to task or who to task with having a calendar from Mr. Hernandez for the completion of, I'm sorry, Raul Hernandez. I get it.
Yeah,
I
there's
get
a lot
it.
of us.
Yeah.
Currently.
Uh,
Well, I've reached out to him already based on our last conversation. I've asked him for a calendar, and he said he would get back to me this coming week. So I'll be following up with that.
Has he accepted the engagement?
Officially? Like
In writing?
No,
Well,
no.
okay.
But
Does
that's,
Tama Mr. Hernandez is that you cannot push him because he will get upset. And I remember when I was getting pushed by council, hey, what's going on with the audits? What's going on with the audits? Called Mr. Hernandez and, hey, give me a timeline,
Keep in mind, while I'm here, I can pull a lot of the stuff that he needs.
Mhm.
And
I
that was
understand.
what was frustrating about the time in September and October with Karina.
Yeah.
Anyway, because I helped her pull everything she needed to respond to him. The same questions came up 6 weeks ago. So anyway,
I'm just saying that he doesn't like to be pressured.
no, I get it.
And he said it's gonna take years.
So we've talked about the garbage fund. The garbage fund seems to be on track. As a result of that, I expect that the garbage fund will be able to contribute $124,000 towards the utility system net. One of the things that council may not recall is that the utility system has been operating in a deficit for quite some time. And when the council was considering the rate adjustments implemented this year, council knew that larger rate adjustments would be needed for the utility system to operate on a net basis. The 2021 information provided by Mr. Raul Hernandez shows the utility system lost $124,000 in 2021. Those losses probably continued since then. Your budget for this year was a deficit $124,000, made up primarily by the surplus of your garbage revenues. You'll notice that, just a moment. Sorry, I'm not finding it. Basically, the garbage fund and the system fund are combined for financial reporting purposes because the garbage fund has a surplus. While the system fund has a deficit. As of 2021, the net assets of those two enterprise funds was $32,000. And that allowed or made it possible for Mr. Hernandez to say there are no fund deficits within the city's financial system. And the reason he could say that is because garbage and water were combined. So you have a net unrestricted of 32,000. That was 4 years ago. Your deficit loss before transfers was a -20, with the garbage system in essence making it possible for the utility system to be at a net basis. Which,
But that was only $32,000 net. I mean,
$32,000 net.
Right, so if we look at 2022, I mean, it may show, well, I mean, it just depends, because it'll probably show a negative
Mhm.
when he gets done with 2022.
Mhm.
And then 2023, since,
What was recorded in your encode system for 2022 was a -170.
and that was for the systems like the water fund?
Water and sewer.
Water and sewer. And the garbage,
The garbage for 22 was 127.
so that's gonna kind of
So it's,
off.
there's a pattern here,
But it's
folks.
still not,
Yeah.
it's still, what is it?
Yeah, we're still not generating, which those are the two things that should be generating revenue.
And so what we spent time this week trying to work through is, as it pertains to the utilities billing process, what's referred to as unaccounted for water. You're buying 20% more water than you're selling. And it's because you have leaks, and it's because you have dead meters. I did visit with the water system manager Thursday. City of Corpus Christi has provided a preliminary indication of 20 cents increase in what they will be charging the San Pat Water District for the water which they sell to you. That 20 cents probably is going to translate to at least a quarter, because they have their cost as well. And so what is $3.50 now will be $3.75.
Pass through.
Yep.
But we're not.
But that's not going to make up the deficit which you already have. You need another 25 cents to make up the deficit. Easy. So, to continue with the materials that you have and which you can use to prepare your request, which don't wait for the next meeting. Let him know, let me know, let us know what you'd like to see or what your questions are, so that we can have a good workshop at the next time that everybody's together.
Are you gonna give us time today?
Yeah,
I
I think,
thought you were gonna give us a little time today just to
Yeah.
highlight some stuff, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
because I think,
yeah, I didn't.
we're, overall, Mr. Bain, how are we doing this year versus last year? Overall, let's just kind of get to, and we can kind of give the council some time to.
And were we able to save that more extra one?
The goal of setting aside approximately $150,000 towards your 5-year saving plan is hard to see right now. Just a moment. Here are your bank balances as of the 17th, 3 days ago. And we have compared those bank balances to where you were a year ago. You don't have to worry about making payroll this fall. Are you there with regards to having $200,000 more in the bank than you did at the end of last year? Jury's still out.
But we're pretty close, right?
You're making money. You're making progress. You're definitely making progress.
I think when I sat with Mr. Payne this week, we kind of went over some numbers, and overall, we're looking at about a little over $200,000 to put in reserves. And based on just some numbers, because we still have a few more months in this fiscal, if we don't make it, we're gonna be pretty darn close. So we did a great job. Yeah, pat yourselves in the back. You guys, it was hard to go through and to hear all the criticism and stuff, but, you know, pat yourselves in the back. Y'all did a great job, because we might, if nothing comes up, I think we're gonna make it, or be pretty close.
And within your package, you can see what's recorded in Encode.
Right there, Mr. Mayor, real quick, that was one of my questions. How's the half cent sales tax and the street, they're both the same numbers?
One of them's the economic development.
No, it's always gonna be the same.
Your economic development and your street maintenance tax are the same rates. And so one of the things that we've seen is that we were trying to get the sales taxes kind of grouped together so that it's easy to see.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so she continued to record the street maintenance tax
Yeah.
up there.
I was confused, yeah.
Join the club. I mean,
But it's still gonna be the same.
Yeah, I know that was gonna be the same, but it's like,
and it's the street maintenance tax that you need to have an election next May for. So let's see, without getting into too much detail.
I didn't hear it.
It's missing because you didn't have donuts.
You turn off your mic, 'cause you can- they're gonna hear
That's
it.
good for you. That's good for you.
Go up fast. Something that I've got that ordinance on the authorization of the street sales tax. I'm sending it to you that way. You can updates. I'm not saying to JP next year.
Some of the things that we have already talked about amongst ourselves, we being myself, your administrator, and the mayor, have to do with trying to help clean up some of the Encode issues so that your staff at City Hall is not being reported as within the miscellaneous department of the general fund. Your water billing person is in the general fund. Technically, the water billing person should be over in Fund 2 as an expense.
that's what I was.
Well, if I move her over to the system fund, then that $125,000 deficit is closer to 200. So it's a process. It's going to take time. That's realistic. That's where it's supposed to be. And so here within a report generated by Encode that we did on July 11th, you can see what the monthly revenue streams, starting October, November through March, April, May, June, July, so only one building, half building, so okay, ignoring that. Through June, there you are at $1 million. Well, let's look at what's happening here in contract services. 50,000, 38,000, 50,000, minus 8,000, 40,000, 85,000, 2,000, 122, 40, et cetera, et cetera. What's happening? Well, well, that's where your water purchases are. That's where your water purchases are. And consequently, it's what raises the spectrum of 40, 40, 35, 0, 40, 65, 0, 116, 40, da, 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 da. We need to work on the accounts payable process, folks. Number one, make sure that we're caught up. Number two, to make sure that we have things in the right bucket for the right time so that you can match your revenues and expenses. Having said all of that, looking at it all, you're in a lot better shape than you were last year. I would like to see more money in the bank. Who wouldn't? Another thing that we have this is a monthly cash flow projection based upon your approved budget. At the beginning of the year, you had bank balances of $1.8 million. As of July 17th, your total money in the bank is $2 million. So you're up $200,000. August and September are usually deficit cash flow months, as are October and November. Your general fund revenue stream came in January, your ad valorem taxes, and you have to make that last through December. Last May, you were at 1.7, so you're up $300,000 for the same time period. Within that number are restricted monies like the American Rescue. And you've got some street funds. One of the things about the garbage fund subsidizing the water system, typically the garbage fund subsidizes your street program because it's the garbage trucks that tear up your street. That kind of transition doesn't happen in one or two budget cycles unless you really, really have a lot of pain medication. It's a process, folks. You're making progress. Having said that, what are we going to make progress towards?
So, I'll go ahead and, I know that me and you, Mr. Elizabeth spoke when you first got here, so I'll let you share that with everyone. What do you see for the next budget year? What would you like to see?
Oh, I would like to see it, our equipment getting fixed. I know we're probably not, that we can afford new equipment, but we do have, is anything working or how bad are we with equipment?
Everything was good up until about almost 3 weeks ago, and everything went down. Problem is we don't have a consistent mechanic, but we finally got an account set up with Texas Rentals up the road, Our account got set with them. There's another mechanic that Jerry Sanchez set up helped set an account with, so that we have. I know we were trying to save money with, kind of getting these individuals to come in, but, speak with Mayor. We're gonna pay a little bit more to get them fixed, but we're gonna get the turnaround a lot quicker, because these are full-fledged operations, not people doing it on the side. So that's sort of the plan going forward.
And I think that we did talk about that, about putting more into, once we do the budget and we start breaking it down into the individual codes, putting a little bit more into the maintenance and repair budget. So that's kind of on the list. Anything else?
It's kind of what I was thinking about. I thought that was just important.
It is, and I had,
If we don't have the proper equipment to get things done, then
We're contracting out.
we have a good guy, we have a good maintenance, a good mechanic that comes, but he works full-time somewhere else. So he does this for us, he has his own company on the side. But he can't be here all the time, so that's what I spoke to Sal. Just, if we can just drop it off, or they can pick it up, and in 2 or 3 days have it up and running, it's a lot, because we need it. If it's just sitting there, it's not doing what it's intended to do, so. Hopefully we can start addressing that. Obviously, we didn't budget for anything like that last year, so we have to see, there was some money once the budget was approved, Hilda, did kind of put some money, put it into the different areas, but we didn't expect every piece of equipment to break down at one time at the same time. So we'll try to get things fixed that are like the things that we need like now. But for the next budget year, I think we should, like you said, add a little bit more money into that area to get these fixed.
How many backhoes do we have?
2.
Both of them are down. Because I know my brother told me he helped y'all
I was gonna bring that up.
clean up the centralized side with his backhoe.
Yes,
He did a good job.
yes, he did. And
Free.
yes, I was gonna mention that, that we needed to move, when we were getting that brush pile cleaned up, excuse me, Republic had been kind of chipping away at it, but they had to kind of stop because the collection had built up so close to the fence, they didn't want to accidentally hit the fence, liability issues. So they had said we needed to create, a 5-foot gap between the fence and the stuff. And that's around the time that the backhoe went down. So Jerry Sanchez, our lead out there, started making some phone calls, and then he brought up Pat Huerta, and that he had some equipment that he would do it for free. So we're grateful for that, for sure. So he went out there with, got it cleaned up for us. And
He told me
I
about
said-
the trees.
Yeah,
2 trees.
there's 2 trees.
those things look good,
Yeah. But
especially with the moisture.
yeah, he really helped us out there. So, thankful to him.
Well, I'm gonna reiterate on her, we really, really, really need to get water meters. I mean, we gotta, I would say ASAP. That's where we lose a lot of our money is water. And I think, Sal, we were talking to somebody about replacing meters, right?
Well, on August 6th, I'm going to put the agenda, and it's just a presentation. It's just, we had Hydro Pro come out. I think y'all had kind of started that conversation way back when. And up until maybe about a few weeks ago, he got some good numbers from our side so that he can actually, yes, Hydro Pro, so that he could actually break down sort of a summary of, at least what's out there, what in this situation, what it would cost. I mean, for instance, I think it was a little over $750,000 for a full city deal. They're electronic, and there are other companies that offer similar products, but I thought it'd be good to get a kind of good idea what we're looking at. Government Capital, I believe, that is a financer. Deferred payment for a year. These are the sort of things that we're looking at, so we can, plan better. But like he says, it just depends on what technology, you're willing to spend on.
Well, to me, that's emergency. That's one of our, we're losing a lot of money.
Mhm.
As you said, 200 meters, dead meters.
Yeah, I think, I spoke to the city administrator manager in Poteet a few months back, and she said that when they replaced their water meters, like their revenue increased by
Yes.
about 30%. I think, talking to Mr. Bain, he said, yeah, probably maybe even more, but, you know, if we're losing 20%,
Yeah.
30%, and we're just putting in new meters without increasing rates, I mean, we might even be able to make up that difference.
That's
just
what I'm
by
saying. I
charging
think it should be emergency.
based on what we do.
I think it should be, also, on that note, we also have an audit. I think as you're talking about, we gotta have like a lead pipe audit or something. It's coming up in September. And,
Let's do
talking to the gentleman, remember you told me to go in and talk? He said, they'll do the audit, they'll do the audit. Or they're replacing, they'll do the audits, and that's it.
And I think what I like about these types of systems, and I don't know if it's something that we need to go ahead and put out for RFQ for bids and see, but what I like about this type of system is because my neighbor's meter and my meter are connected, and then the next, if there's a leak, it'll tell us if there's
Yeah,
a leak
exactly.
between meter 1 and meter 2.
Exactly.
It won't tell you exactly where, but the maintenance guys will know,
Yeah.
hey, the leak is between here and here. So they can start digging, you know, instead of just kind of, you know, throwing out guesses, well, let's start here, let's dig there. We're gonna know pretty much right away that there's a leak
We
somewhere.
just save money on that.
And to me, I think this is an important item right now. We should tackle this pretty quick.
Well, yeah, because it's our money maker.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Remember, they came in a couple of years, they did pretty quick. I mean, they came in within a couple of weeks. They had the whole city done.
No, last time that we did them, 10 years ago, it was the same situation.
Yeah.
The client can gain or we can lose, so it could go either way,
Yeah, so.
but most
Was
likely.
it a
we
grant,
would
Jesse,
lose.
that paid for it, or How did the city pay for it?
We paid for it.
No, it was a loan.
It was loan, yeah.
and you paid it off over
Yeah,
certain years?
yeah.
It was a loan.
Can
they do that?
We just paid it off.
Yeah, there's financiers
Yeah,
out
yeah.
there.
There are, from the Texas Rural Water Association has funding guides for small communities.
Plus, you know, these guys, you talk to them, I talk to them, they're willing to help any way they can.
Well,
And I think, Ingleside had them too, and
Yeah.
they're happy.
And that's what I'm waiting on, Ingleside, to give us a list of I'd like to see a copy of their RFQ.
You worked over there.
And then,
Ingleside.
Yeah, I called yesterday. The director of public works couldn't remember their name and said he didn't have a copy.
find out who they,
So I have
Who
to
they
do an
did
open
there.
records request. He has to do an open records.
so hopefully we can get that information, you know, and,
Whenever you do bulk, they'll come and install all of them
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, that was what gentleman was sharing with me, was that, you know, they always put like a little contingency in there in case, you know, but that's why he wanted these exact numbers so that he can actually give us a good number.
I'm thinking, we're gonna get 3 new pumps too in the water thing. There's gonna be a lot of pressure coming out of those pumps, and these old meters, we're gonna get more leaks.
well, they'll be
You're
able
gonna
to
pop the lid.
regulate that, but I think the problem is gonna be is when the system goes online, you know, because I think that, you know, you dealt with this, when you turn the whole system
That's what I'm
down,
saying.
shut the whole system down and then turn it back up,
Yeah,
then that's created a lot of problems, because sometimes
Yeah.
there's things stuck in the lines that are
exactly.
keeping it from leaking, but as soon as the pressure drops down, you know.
Bust lines.
Yeah, but I think the good thing about this also, I wanna say that the people that don't have the backflow preventers, we can identify them. As
Exactly.
they're putting in the meters,
It's a
we
plus.
can go board, or say, hey, look, we can do this, or, you know, or you need to hire somebody to do this, and get those backflow preventers.
Or just like you
installed.
said, put it in the water bill, you know, $5 a day or $5 a. I think it's an emerging item. We should really push that.
What else is in
I'm thinking,
But are you talking about tackling this before this fiscal year or for next fiscal year?
ASAP.
Priority.
For this fiscal year.
ASAP, yeah.
I agree with Jesse, and I know it's gonna cost 600 some
Yeah,
thousand
but-
for all of them.
yeah.
But even if you do half, the ones that are bad, then let's start with that.
Yeah, and I think you discussed that, he goes, let's start with the bad ones.
Well, no,
And then-
he said it would cost more money because of the rollout. You want to the suggestion is you tackle it all at one time,
Yeah.
because if he keeps going back and forth,
No, no,
you actually
capital
spend more
all the
money.
time,
Yeah.
I would-
But like I said, I do want to put him on the agenda so that he can give you just a sort of overview of just what that work's done. And again, we'd have to figure out if you're going to go with, do RFQs and all that kind of stuff. And
Do we have to go for RFQs?
I mean, that's,
I mean, I
The
don't-
good news is that folks like Buy Board,
yeah, buy board, or if they have a
If they
sole,
have buy board, we don't have to go through the RFQs.
yes, that is correct. Although just because it's on Buy Board doesn't mean it's a good price.
Well, that's the, with
There,
service, here you get
there-
good service.
it's streamlined because the bidding process
Right.
has already been vetted. That doesn't mean, and for this type of project, the good news is you have multiple Buy Board vendors available that you can go to and simply say, we're 1,500 people, 1,500 meters.
Right.
Give us your proposal. It can be that quick and simple. Now, I have emailed to the city administrator and the mayor, the Texas Rural Water Association funding sheet. That's what's on the screens now. Those are different places that you can get financing from.
There you go. Yeah, and,
But are you sure we have to go through bidding? Because
Well,
there's
that's what
different
I'm saying.
products.
I know-
No, if it's Buy Board, it's okay.
That's what I'm saying, we don't have to.
But what I'm saying is there's different products.
Yeah.
You know, you
Neptune,
have this
Neptune,
vendor that sells this
This
product,
then you got this
and
one.
then the way they mesh everything with the billing and all that, how they read the meters,
Exactly.
it's all different.
It's all different.
So not everybody,
You need to know your specs.
right.
Well, he seemed to do our spec, didn't he? When you talked to him?
oh, yeah.
He knew our specs already. I don't think,
I think he even said that the system even merges with Encode.
Yes,
well, that's another plus.
right.
So,
And there's some sole source technology also that at least this company had. So, but again, the buy board is the way to,
Yeah.
they've already gone through the vetting
Like
process.
I
It
said,
kind
I
of,
think I think we should really look into this. Another one, just, can you streamline this, all these zeros? Can you condense all these? We don't need like there's a bunch of zeros in here on this budget. Like some of
well, the
these-
line items
Line item, can you
that
just-
aren't used.
Yes.
I've been looking at that too, like.
It's like, there's too many zeros.
Why do we have?
Take them away and like I said, I looked at San Patricio's, you don't see them any zero. This is it, that's it. None of this.
I think that's a matter of just cleaning up in code,
Clean up.
because there's
There
probably
you go.
stuff that's not being used, or I noticed like
Yeah,
there's some miscellaneous spots which should probably be dialed out more.
and there's numbers like windstorm here, windstorm here, windstorm here, windstorm
You're going to
here.
want to allocate your windstorm expenses to your various departments.
Well, what are you doing now? Did you combine them to one?
No,
Windstorm?
they were combined to one,
But now we're,
but we divided it.
okay, just stuff like that. I mean, that's all I got.
So like that, it comes out of the different.
Yeah, like,
departments, right?
there's some stuff like intra,
Yeah, I agree with you on that. It needs to be cleaned up.
just a lot easier for people to walk, look to it online.
Anything else?
Let me see. Did a good job, both of y'all guys. Yeah, this, what you call it, the schedule is awesome. The schedule is awesome.
Mr. Bain.
Planning, yeah. No, good job, that's all I got.
We have how much in the street maintenance, 300,000?
About 300,000?
Yeah, before it gets winter time, I think we ought to utilize that money and select several streets and go ahead and spend the whole 300,000 and
Zippo?
seal coat, a one course where they just put one rock, one there, and that's it. But 300,000 will go a long ways. And I think you ought to do it fast right now. You can start getting bids on that.
Like,
Like Carol Weaver,
I like
there's
this. Yeah,
several companies.
right, so already have a local contractor that we've used in the past. I'm meeting with him just to get an assessment of the area. So we're just to get an idea of what it's going to cost. And then, of course, I let them know, like, this isn't guaranteeing you the job. This is just to help us, get to a point where we can find out what's it going to cost us to. I mean, I said, let's go to. We're going to drive the city. We're going to just assess every street that needs, from the south side, all the way to the other end, and then sort of get because if you're talking, and I mean,
See, that's
one
what's
big
creating a lot of potholes.
yes,
Is because it hasn't been seal coat for like 3 or 4 years. So all these cracks are getting worse, but if we would have seal coat them, then it would have been, properly maintained.
yeah. So hopefully late next week, early next week, we'll have an idea what it'll cost, and then we can figure out if we'll go through buy board or if we just do the RFQ or whatever needs to happen. So it'll be a good
Well, we have the money, all you gotta do
Right.
is go for bids.
Right.
Is there be consideration of getting the county engineer involved?
In what?
Well, for public works projects that exceed certain dollar thresholds, you have to have an engineer involved.
No, not for streets. Drainage, yes, but not the
I think if
streets.
you're gonna be changing the dynamics, maybe the flow,
Yeah.
where the water's gonna flow and all that, you would. But in this case,
You
you
know something we don't know?
Because there's another monies that we're not utilizing, and that's the drainage system. You've got all these valley gutters they're cement and they're cracked. That money can pay for that.
Right.
And there's several of them that need to be replaced.
Well, we're starting the conversation with that with the Willis flooding situation.
Mhm.
Our engineer from Adura is talking to their engineer.
Yes.
So that conversation started there. So from there, we work back
Yeah.
to those other key spots like on Flournoy, right? There's an area there off of Moss, Bullard. I know that was flowing a lot easier this year, but I thought like for me, honestly, concreting those gullies, whatever you call them, to me is going to be more efficient. It does cost more, but in the long run, our guys don't have to go out there. We don't have to worry about overgrowth and stuff.
Yeah, we're doing 6 to 8 inches.
Right. So-
But right now, if you go over here on, behind the post office, behind Extreme,
Mhm.
you see rebar already, and
Yeah, and those, yes, but yes, to piggyback what you're saying, yeah, we need to address some of those. There's even one over here off of Humphreys.
behind Circle K, that one you can see rebar. So all those need to be replaced.
Yeah.
And yes, you do gotta get an engineer involved for that, but not the streets.
I think you said streets ought to hit that. really.
Oh, yes.
Anything else?
While you're at it, oh, I'm sorry, while you're at it, you might want to get TxDOT involved because from the stop sign this way, that belongs to them.
Yes,
And then we're having to maintain it, but it's costing us, but that's in reality, that's theirs.
yeah, because they have
You might
some,
want to coordinate with,
yes, there's,
Well,
Well, we don't have to look at that, right? Because we already have a budget.
for the drainage district, yeah, we have like, I think it was like 242,000 is what we have right now. But the street maintenance is a separate fund, but we do have funds for that.
Robert's been over with TxDOT, is he, right? There's a new guy, a new,
District engineer.
No, I texted him recently,
Oh.
yeah.
It's happy.
Yeah, because we had a light pole fall in front of the old Bain antique shop, and they came out pretty quick. I texted him, and they came out pretty quick to take care of it.
Someone new.
Yeah. I mean, maybe from then to now, I don't know, but that was maybe a month ago.
but hey, all the streets need them. So if you talk to Robert,
Mhm.
maybe they'll come in and while we're doing ours, they do theirs.
Hmm.
coordinate, get it.
Go ahead.
Anything else? Anything else? Yolanda? What do you think?
I'm gonna say water meters as well, because I feel like that should be number one. We need to have a plan for that and see how we can best tackle that. I didn't realize there was a financing option, if that's an option.
Yeah, I mean, most of these companies, deal with banks to finance this stuff, and we haven't really looked at whether we can get financed. I think that we just know that there's an opportunity to finance, so, but I think it's how to kind of start looking at that and see if we can get it financed through whatever banks that they work through. And start getting that done. Because we're gonna have the new water improvement project done, the COG money. Next week's meeting, we're gonna approve the use of that money, the COG money for the water tower, and the new generator at the plant, the water plant. So, I mean, hopefully by this time next year, our whole water system, as far as, I mean, of course, we still have the water lines under the ground, but as far as the pumps, the above ground tank, I mean, all that'll be good.
No, that would be nice. And also, I wanted to ask, how are we on staffing?
So we have, we have interviews next Wednesday for the municipal judge. 2 interviews, 2 candidates. After that, then we can talk. I think that was the first thing we need to put in place, because I know code enforcement was an issue. After that, because it didn't make sense to get a code enforcement officer without a municipal judge.
Yeah,
But go ahead.
With regards to us getting what we need done in the city, like for the city of Orlando Corporate, do we have the right amount of staffing?
Some of the asks that I'm wanting are a part-time clerk for the library. That they can kind of be a floater, but we do need to plan for when Donna's going to be out for vacation, out unexpectedly, or decides to retire. We should start training somebody. And I was concerned about certification, but we have to do some more research, and she's looking into it. But when you have a certain population, you don't need to have a master's degree in in these sort of fields. So that was one of my asks. I would like to see another person added to maintenance to help with water leak repair and sewer repair, licensed, or trained, license preferred, of course. It'd be great to get a superintendent. And right now we are getting a really good rate with our contractor currently. But if we can afford to get someone a full-time, unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to afford that gentleman, which would be great, but we can't match his salary where he's getting now. But right now, we're paying $1,600 a month for his expertise licensing, and he is a good resource for our maintenance crew. Obviously, we need 2 operators on staff, so he helps us meet that requirement, TCEQ. But if we can get someone full-time, that'd be great. Right now, it was like another 3,000. I want reclassifying and we talked about this before, the finance manager. It was just an additional 3,000 to the salary, so that we can attract. I haven't got any bites, so I'm trying to do some recruiting on my own to find someone who kind of meets that criteria. But as far as staffing goes,
We have a financial manager that's posted,
yes, right.
and then the judge.
Right.
position.
And then we did post for the police chief, and we have some candidates for that. But I felt as if we needed to get the judge in place first, and then decide even then, because we don't know what the budget's going to hold for next year. So I kind of just put a pause on that until you push a little more on that.
Sal, on the financial manager, when we were at TML, didn't we talk to that little lady that said that they have a financial university that helps a little town like us? Have we looked into that?
Not
That
yet.
they'll come in as a group?
Yes, but I don't know that they are. I don't know how that works necessarily. And you're right. We need to look into it. Whether it's they're going to help us on because we need someone to look at our numbers daily, like every single day. And like I said, I with everything I have to do, that's why I needed that assistance. We need. No, it's like a TML kind of branch. TML group. Where they would. Right, right.
But have you posted the finance manager position on TML?
Yes.
What is the salary?
It's the max is 55, and it starts. It's basically $25 an hour. salaried. I mean, to me, and I put experience and education combination, is acceptable as well. It's just a matter of, I would like to just get someone who understands how government works, has a general idea of, how government finance works, and has some accounting background. And those are the main, everything else is trainable. Like I said, I mean, like I told y'all, like I've never had to put together a budget like this and actually start from the ground up. So Mr. Bain has been a great help and I've learned a lot. But I need someone who's, going to be in the office constantly, just looking at numbers daily.
Okay, Mr. Paul, would Baines do that maybe part-time?
You know, we can afford him.
Well, that's the one, how you asked him.
It's too expensive.
Well, you have to be in the office every day. Mr. Baines?
Maybe some of like these universities that have kids that are going into that,
Mhm.
and maybe trying to recruit someone and get them trained and see if they stay.
Might even post it up with, like on school board,
Or
bulletin boards or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, even someone like, but I mean, you're right. Like, I didn't think about that. Like accounting classes at Del Mar. I mean, some of those people are, who have the background, who understand numbers and just,
To the professors or to the universities or the colleges,
Mhm.
seeing if they have, like, can kind of mention it to their, like a student, if they're like, oh yeah, that's right, they're gonna catch on.
Get with the workforce, with the
Oh,
workforce,
yeah.
their incentive.
already, yeah, they already have all that stuff.
Cause I know like when I need teachers, I'll start reaching out like to the career and prep, the different certification programs. Hey, you got any teachers? So
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Anything else?
those are my two. I agree with the streets. It doesn't look like it's something we have to budget. It's already there, right? But I agree with that, because that's something that we need to also do. And then the same thing like with but it sounds like we're already working on that with the equipment, right?
Hmm.
Staffing to me is important in having the right type.
Right. And efficiency too, because, like being spread thin, it will take its toll and something's going to give eventually. And even then, like I said, even with,
It'll trickle down.
right, even with my wants, it's still a little, little hectic still, but maybe my dream is as we go, we actually have specialized people doing specialized things, so that nothing really falls to the cracks,
It's cross training also.
Yes.
One of the things with the water meter replacement, right now it takes 10 days to process the billing for the water. The maintenance guy's gotta go out there with the wand, and then the meters that you can't read that the wand did pick up, you gotta go out there manually and walk around and take the readings for these meters. Obviously, they're not gonna do all 200 and something. And then there's the process of disconnect. So then you gotta do the disconnect process by letting them know and all that. And then, of course, finally, Angela has her thing, and it takes her about a day and a half to process everything before the bill. So you're looking at about 10 days of man hours. That, I mean, with the whole new water system, even if we go with the wand, because HydroFlow has two systems. Well, their system, you can do it two ways. The least expensive one is we stay with the laptop, the truck, and the guys go around with the wand, and they do the readings. But it'll be a lot quicker with this system than the one we have right now. And then the other one is where they put repeaters in certain areas around town, and then they speak to each other and then get send the numbers to the computer automatically. Obviously, because we have areas that are outside the city limits, that's gonna cost money because you're gonna have to put towers or put it somewhere where they can put all the way to Bethel and then all the way to Angelita and all that stuff. And that's kind of what Mr. Bain was alluding to when it comes to fees for our services outside the community. If we have this type of system, we need to start considering, if you're not within the city limits and we're providing water and wastewater services.
For fire.
Yeah, another fee. And I think Sitton's actually looking right now at adding a fee for fire services for outside the city limits as well. And I don't know how they're working that out. We might have to sit with John over there and see how are you guys figuring this, doing this. And so that might be something to consider later on as well.
And then also the shut off, they can shut off the thing right here instead of overtime, they could just do it on,
Yeah, they can do it on the computer.
yep, instead of, like, the other day, Jerry goes,
And that's
I gotta go, I
just
gotta go.
manpower, too.
Yeah, everything's automatic.
They can have that time to do other
And,
things.
and you said manpower,
Yeah.
and you were stressing manpower, that's everything.
Hours cost money.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I appreciate about this council is that you recognize that yes, technology costs a pretty penny, but it's gonna pay itself off in efficiency and better use of employees' time. You know, I've come from cultures that think, oh, $200,000 for something I can't touch, it's a little outdated thinking, but I'm grateful for y'all that y'all can see the potential in software.
Oh, there's always a possibility, but we have to get.
Yeah, it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder nowadays. They
you
changed the
know,
law.
On the annexing. You still have to go through the process, right? There's a process.
I think they have to, the
Yeah.
people there have to initiate it, right? With the way the law's written now, I think
The new ones, yeah.
they have to want to be.
And I don't think that was gonna initiate it.
Well,
We
I
start
mean,
rating.
Well, but that's why the rates are higher, like other
So then we're
services,
just
yeah.
gonna.
garbage.
Maybe that'll be
How much are we underwater over there? Just the
No.
water? No, in Bethel,
I don't have that number for it. I have
20, 30 bucks?
to, for the water, I'm not sure.
It's not very much, to be honest, because I remember looking at that last year, because I was thinking about the same thing. Because when I lived in Austin, at one part of where we lived right outside the city limits, and later on they annexed the city limits. But we lived outside the city limits, and of course, Austin has their own trash pickup, the electricity, it's Austin electricity. So we pay a lot more than the city.
If we don't
Uh,
annex them, I feel like Corpus will eventually.
Well, they might be getting close to the
Not
ETJ.
Bethel, because they're on our ETJ. Check with Rincon, see what Rincon charges. I think Rincon's like 45 bucks. What's that?
Inside, outside water rates.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I can't see it.
Zoom in.
Trust me,
It's old, that old ice.
you're at 3466 inside versus 39.
39 outside.
So about $5,
Uh-huh,
well, $4 and change.
ask Rincon. I think they were 45.
So it's about $4 difference.
And that was come for us right there, hey,
Oh,
if you give us water, guess we're cheap,
Well, there's a commercial, it says right there, commercial outside city,
that's cheap.
they charge $45.52. So I don't know if that's Rincon's right there, but you might be pretty close. They're charging 45.
But that's two residents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's something to look at.
Well, so
Yeah.
speaking of rent cons, so another ask that I'll be trying to find, see if we can afford it. So there's this property about 0.7 miles away from our nearest water tap. They've asked for a city water. So rent con's right there, right? But the potential for growth is always there also. So I got with Joe Sandoval and I said, what do you think it would cost? Just in because the gentleman said that he could do the work. That's kind of work he does now. I would have to look into there was obviously engineering has to be involved. He has to be certified, I'm sure, all that kind of stuff. But just in materials alone, it would cost $50,000 to $60,000 to run water out there. To me, down the line, it's an investment because once he has city water, as they build, people start tapping in, and now we have more customers. But that's just again.
I already had a thorough look at that,
Mhm.
and there is a lot of engineering involved. It's still going to tap.
Yes,
Like I saw that's right outside.
Right.
of-
yeah, but
So, in the nearest
you
tap,
call me on that one too.
Yes.
the nearest tap is right there where the Veterans Park is at.
Yeah, the Temple subdivision.
Yeah. So, I mean, with the engine, because part of that is TxDOT, so you have to involve TxDOT in the whole process, because you're digging through TxDOT, area that's there, whatever the word is, I don't remember that actual. And I think it was around $200,000
Probably,
with
yeah.
engineering
Mhm.
and getting the fixed up, all the,
That's
whatever
a
the
three,
permits
three
and all
inch
that stuff.
lines, 5 inch
What's the
lines.
plan?
Four,
and water
probably
right now.
4.
Yeah, we
He's got well water. He's got well
still
water.
water
into
well.
it,
Yeah.
Because if we don't take advantage of that property, that's several acres, Rincon will snap it, will grab it quick.
Well,
And then-
Rincon, I've talked to Rincon about it. Rincon wants us to give up that whole area.
I know
Not
they
just
do.
that house,
Yeah, I
because
know.
they're pretty close to that
Oh,
house.
yeah.
They're right
But
around
once
the
you get it
curve.
up, that's it.
But they want
It'll never-
that whole area, which.
And the
kinda-
certificate of need and necessity is
It's ours, but they want it.
Mhm.
So we gave up that house, you give up the,
No,
Give up
man.
the whole.
See, and Rincon already took several acres from Sinton, Odom, Taft. And talking about, the newspaper, they snuck it in into Corpus Christi, so nobody knew, remember that? You know? Several years ago, we tried to, contest it and fight them, and they said, nope. They did the proper procedures, and they advertised in the Corpus Christi Caller-Times, and nobody knew about it, so we lost land. So here, I mean, like you're saying, there's, how many acres you think?
Oh, man. I
40,
couldn't tell you.
50?
Probably.
More?
If not more.
Something acres, like
I mean, that's
not more than 50.
53 acres.
Yeah.
And the guy that built that house actually reached out to me because he says he wants to build 2 more houses out there, but he wants to wait to see if he doesn't want to have to pay to get the wells put in, that we're gonna be running city water out there, so.
And they
Um,
can't pay like. the
Yeah, it's
owner,
negotiable.
like, because I know like when I lived in New Mexico, I didn't have water. I had to pay like $6,000 for them to put, because I had well water and I didn't want it. And I paid it because I wanted city water, I didn't want well water.
Yeah, it's
So
negotiable.
can't
and,
they pay some, like to help?
Angelietta Estates paid, back in the day, $28,000 to run from the city all the way out there past the cemetery. Well, the cemetery got lucky because
Yeah,
the water ran and they tapped right there, but, McGregor, they paid $28,000. But now it's more.
Sure.
But
But
look
like,
into that.
Yeah, it's just something to look into, just to see what that would cost. I mean, that sounds about right, but I mean,
I
it's
wouldn't
just,
give it up. Give it up.
Because if they're gonna pay for the well, they might be willing to pay that. So-
Mhm.
$4,000.
Yeah.
So, anything else, Ms. Yolanda?
No, the same thing, y'all are doing an excellent job.
thank you.
I truly appreciate it. And I like the communication that you have, not just with us, but with your staff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, obviously I have similar, an employee, for the wastewater and water system, bringing in another employee. When I try to, contractors and consultants should be the last resort for us. If we can have full-time staff doing work, I think they have more buy-in, because they work for us. Of course, also looking at a position, or instead of having a bookkeeper, having a finance manager, just kind of changing the wording there and the responsibilities. I would like to see about raising all our employees' salaries to $15 an hour at starting pay, even if we need to do an ordinance that's and pass it as a council, that starting pay for the city of Odom is $15 an hour. I think it's a shame that you can go work at Love's and make $15 an hour, or at McDonald's and make $15 an hour. And we still have employees right now working for $10 and change, $11 and change. So, $12 and change. And for the work that they do and the importance that they have for the community, I don't want people coming to Odom and just to polish up their resume and say, well, I worked at Odom for 3 years, and then leaving, getting trained here, getting licenses and certifications, that leads into my next one, is putting some money aside to help some of our employees get their certifications, where they can go and get them, and then we reimburse them once they graduate. We reimburse them the money. Anytime an employee's gonna go out of the way to get trained, and get more training. I think it's important that we can reimburse that. I have the fire department here. The fire department's budget last year was like $75,000. I would really like to move it up to about 100,000 because they have a lot of things that they need to get upgraded and updated. Hoses that haven't been replaced for some time. We have firefighters using equipment that's not suited for them. It gets them, some doesn't close all the way because, it's not big enough for them. Some of them, it's too baggy on them. So they need helping the fire department a little bit more. And then I would like to, but I know that this is not technically, I would like to kind of put maybe like $25,000 to start doing something in the little parks.
I thought about that too, but I didn't know if that was us.
Well, the park belongs to us, so it's it should be our responsibility to fix it, to maintain it. And
Yeah,
then,
I didn't know if it was us.
but the easy can help as well. I mean, whether the city can put, maybe $25,000 into the fund, I guess, or not, to get some of the busy events to repair, fix some of that whole stuff. They don't use some of that old busy for the fact that it's removed. Little things like that, the dugouts, they started them themselves, but they couldn't finish them. So just adding, some $25,000 for us, the city, to maintain that park, it is ours. So we should be looking at that. And
then I still have to go through my office to submit requests and get bids and all kind of stuff, whatever they get, and then we decide.
That's what they want, that's important, the most important thing for them. Then, stick to those old handmade pictures that are there, and buy some of these, that you can move around.
Honestly, now,
Really,
I have no,
but I just
that's say, but literally, remember this conversation. Because technically, we're not getting any money. This, I would say, park. It's the park, right.
It's ballpark repairs and others.
So this is just for park maintenance and repair, whatever, and that is our park, so just putting away maybe $25,000. And, maybe we could continue that each year and we can use that to kind of repair. And not just necessarily the Little League Park, but we can use it, once we get things fixed over there, then we can use it for some of the other parks
Are we
also.
ever gonna do that? Contract again?
This, the main park, well, we're kind of working at that. I think, EDC is going to be helping out later on, but I don't know if it's going to be this year or not. But,
I'm sorry, what'd you say about the EDC?
Oh, that was for the parks as well. So,
Okay.
I think there's a meeting on Monday, so. The other thing, of course, is that Mr. Bain alluded to is renewing the street sales tax. Next year, I just want to make sure that we keep that in mind. Also, another thing that this doesn't cost any money, but, I guess everything costs money.
Yes.
Approving.
It's
Approving our financial and grant policies that we sent to the OOG as part of our response to them. We have these policies that we need to get approved this year. I did speak to one of the had auditors that audited our grant. And she wanted to know where we were as far as the policies. I told them we were working on, you know, fixing them up, and she said, well, as long as you guys are doing something on it. So hopefully we can get those, you know, adopted this year. And then I also had the water meters on my list as well. So I think we all agree that the water meters should be done sooner than later. And if they're on buy board, you know, if there's a couple other companies on buy board, Sal, just to say that we did our due diligence. Maybe reach out to them. See if
Sure.
they want to come and give us a bid, so that we can say, well, it wasn't just this company, you know.
Are we gonna draw straw for the May
Are you
election?
full?
When are we gonna do that?
68.
First of January, something like that?
Yeah, I don't think, we haven't really discussed that. I mean,
Which one?
We draw straws, you know, because
who's gonna be,
I was gonna suggest that, because it costs money to do election, we've had it like this for several years, I think we just ought to stay with that.
well, it's a huge law too.
Mhm.
We could do it, you know, I let it stagger it.
Yeah, I mean, the common recommendations that you have staggered, because when you, like Mr. Bates says also, when you lose all the knowledge, or you know,
I
you know,
understand that, but I'm
so-
just saying, some of us have been here for a while. We're gonna continue running, but, it costs money as well, 20-something a year.
That's money to put something on the ballot.
To have an
To
election?
run an election,
Oh,
No, it's
gosh.
gonna be part of the November, May,
yeah,
November,
no,
no.
it goes in May, we're in May, so we have our own election.
That's right.
And
We opted
we
out.
have to pay $20-something thousand every time.
So shifting to the general election would be something to,
Yeah,
To the November, yeah. The only thing about the November election, you might wanna, because that's what we were told, you need to consider yourself a Democrat or a Republican. And,
no, you can still stay, like City of Corpus Christi, they're in November now, and
I just
they have,
remember that
they
told us-
just get sworn in sooner.
Yeah.
They start like in December rather than January, but you don't have, there are some of those races.
I don't know if we can switch it now to November. I think that was an opportunity we had back when,
Yeah, right now it's
that you
too
could
late.
declare November or keep it on May and pay it on your own. And we decided to stay with May.
Right,
I don't think, well, I'll look into it, but I think that.
yeah, I think it's too late. You're right.
well, we can still look at it.
Yeah.
You know, elections come up around next May anyway.
yeah.
And then at that point, we can see, because there's another general election in November, I think that year, next year as well.
The reason I said that, we gotta put that half cent, when does that come up? Well, when do we gotta do that? That's in May.
May of 25.
But that's not an elect, is that an election?
Yeah, that's come, I said I was gonna tie
It
in.
comes in a ballot.
That's the come, I was gonna tie these two together.
Unless you can get it onto your November, but I don't know.
That's what I'm talking about, Mayor. So
November
we tie
24th.
into this,
The,
we gotta have that.
Reauthorization of the
And now we
sales.
lose that, so
Yeah.
either way, we gotta.
Yeah,
have
because I've got
election.
an ordinance already
So you're
ready to
still
go.
doing that in May, so I think that's something that we can decide, I mean, we can.
That's what I'm saying, when we tie it in, it's,
Start thinking about it.
we gotta have it, okay? Now we lose that money. So we're gonna have something in May, regardless.
Yeah, and if you want to stagger it, we can.
Yeah.
Like I said,
So I think we can
I'm
do
talking
that.
about in the future, every year, if somebody wants to run on it, even if it's only one person or two people.
Yeah.
It's gonna cost.
But like I said, we're still gonna have election in May regardless, so it's gonna
Right.
cost money, it ain't gonna cost, we gotta have that.
You gotta have
Well,
that.
I can tell you, one of the biggest issues that some of the things that I've been talked to about is our people in the community say, they say, how come Orem doesn't have like districts? Because tú eres el único, you're the only one that lives on my side of town. Everybody else lives over there in Odom South or on that side of town, you know? And they're like, you know, how come like some cities have like,
Wards.
yeah, wards,
We're not.
yeah, it's like, it doesn't,
Statute of law.
people just kind of like,
We're
you
not.
know.
Yeah, we're large, it's a law.
If we want to do that, we can do it in the May election, you know, we can.
Pretty
Is
evenly
Epi-
distributed, don't you think?
there a charter review calendar?
Well, then you have to change it to They have to change the name to,
Because the
Ward,
only two that did-
Ward, you got it, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard.
Alderman. Ward
Yeah, that's-
one,
We operate under general
Alderman
council.
Ward
Yeah.
two,
So it's whenever somebody wants to do.
and like the commissioner.
We're too small. The city's too small.
General law
But
has like a
even then, I
Yes.
just go pretty evenly distributed. And that way that's the
Yeah.
only
I
two.
see it.
Gen two, right there.
I mean, everybody else lives in different neighborhoods.
So,
I guess y'all can set a workshop here pretty soon also to discuss going staggered terms and decide how, drawing the straws and who's gonna run. Yeah, I think two people will run at one point and then three will run, or three and then two, whatever, however it works. But,
So this next May, we could have where, you know, 2 or 3 will run in May, and then the others will be,
Yeah.
stay till the following May.
So some, one gets a little
The
rise.
way it works is only the council draws straws. That's it. The mayor doesn't draw straws.
So the mayor's elected, he goes.
No. He still goes. It's gonna be 3. Out of the 5, it'll be 3
And you read
that
the
draw
law,
straws.
you read that law,
So
Huh?
we
you read it,
Well, that's the way we did it before.
but it's a new law, have you read it? Yeah, there's a new law. We can do it, but I don't know if you said mayor, when you said that the other day, I don't think it makes sense.
Oh, the new law is saying that you can unstagger.
Yeah, that's.
No, you
Yeah,
can
you can
stagger.
And that's what I'm talking about, but they don't say nothing about mayor. Like I said, just,
Right.
they don't
That's what
specifically say mayor.
council.
I don't remember.
I don't know.
Are we done?
I don't know.
Pretty
I
much.
got Joey's ready.
No, we have the other part, it's like the 2.
Yes, it's a new law, but I don't think the mayor's, it's,
So the mayor is automatically every 2 years? Is it
Yes, that's what I'm saying. The mayor's every 2 years. The council's only the one that staggers. Automatically, he'll be staggered. When the other 3, then the mayor will be staggered with the other 2. So the 3 they're gonna choose are gonna get an extra year. That's how we unstaggered. Is 3 got an extra year.
it ain't over yet.
Yeah.
No, it's not. I think it's-
We're done with the budget, Jesse.
You know, one thing,
Oh, that's good.
you know, one thing, you were talking about the fire department. You need to get over the county commissioners because, you know, you're spending money on those trucks and all those vehicles, to put the water, put the fire out, but they don't live inside the city. You know, what we used to get was $100 from the county commissioner back in the old
We
days.
already get a stipend.
Like
Yeah,
42,000.
We get to 40 something.
Well, that's good.
I think,
About time they did something.
yeah, they go according to the runs that you do every year. So every year, Commissioner's Court decides, okay, Oldham's gonna get this much because they did that many runs outside the city tax, and that's how they do it.
Very good. Well,
Sorry, Jesse.
you guys are working.
Yeah.
together.
Thank you.
Jesse used to be a councilman, by the way, so
Oh.
for those of y'all that don't know, he used to be a councilman.
So, we're gonna move on to the item B here,
Can you
organizational
disconnect?
standards. Standard operating procedures as well as the roles, expectations, and authority of employees. So I think Sal wanted to just kind of put something out there so we all kind of understand where we all kind of sit as far as I don't think the community knows real well what roles each of us play. You know, sometimes they're calling me and asking for certain things, and I'm like, well, that's not really something the mayor can handle, but I will talk to somebody about it. So maybe with this, you know, putting this chart out there, maybe we should post it on social media as well.
Well, yeah, once y'all, I mean, there was some kind of like, well, do we want to call it that, you know, that kind of thing. This is the draft as of now. So this is kind of how I broke it out based on just my understanding of general law type A ordinances that exist that we have now. So we're a council manager form of government. Meaning that the body is my boss. And Mayor had put this email out way back when, you know, that council members And this isn't, and I want to make sure before we get into it even more, like, this is not a dig at anybody. This is not a, this happened way back when, but I think it kind of contributed to what we're doing now. And I think it had to do with efficiency also. And I learned a lot of that from the staff because, certain people on council in the past would direct staff to do certain stuff. And I don't know if it got back to the city administrator or whatever the case was, but there was just confusion. So just to kind of get back to basics, as you see it outlined here, that council tells me what to do as a body, and then I basically supervise this. I mean, ideally you'd have sort of these department heads, right? Oops. So if you notice, like, while I have the municipal, that was the one I had. So municipal judge, right? So obviously y'all appoint that person. You're their boss. They're a contractor. But I felt as if, like, since I'm doing the day-to-day, they would just kind of lean on me and we'd work together. That wouldn't be necessarily me telling them what to do, but I would kind of guide them to be like, okay, this is what the city's policies are. We prefer you to do this or something like that. But ultimately, or if they were doing something they shouldn't be doing, I would report that to y'all or let them know, hey, we probably shouldn't be doing that, do this, and so on and so forth. Obviously, the attorney is y'all's attorney, but also mine. So there's a little kind of vagueness there, but ultimately y'all appoint that position. I did put a public works superintendent just because, just a dream to put that back, and then of course those are, and I just call them foremen because we don't have any official titles for our.
The superintendent is also hired by the council. So it's just like the city attorney, municipal judge.
Mhm.
And public works superintendent.
See,
So whenever you're ready.
Well, see, that was another thing too, because in the way the ordinance reads is that y'all appoint city officers, which would, but as far as like department heads, that would be my department. So that's what I'm saying. That's why I thought we're having this conversation.
Yeah, you would be, but it's just I know it hasn't been completed yet, but the employee manual,
Mhm.
it states that the mayor and the city administrator hire everybody else, like your foremen and librarian staff, all that, but the clerks. But when it comes to like superintendents, city attorney, municipal judge, it's hired by the council, not appointed, but hired. Oh, it's the same.
Okay.
Oh, you might want to look at them.
Yes.
On the employee manual, that's what it stated all these years, and
Mhm.
it hasn't been completed, but it still says.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying, because I was told like that manual wasn't like officially approved, so it's kind of hard to lean on
It
it.
wasn't completed.
Okay. And I'll be presenting a full manual before the fiscal year for y'all to review. But it's really up to the body to decide what that is.
Yes.
So if the body decides, well, we only want the city administrator hiring these people, we need to get that cleared up. The city administrator is in charge of these things, because y'all can.
No, but you're still in charge of it.
Sure. Right.
Technically, even though we hire them
Right.
or appoint them, you still in charge of everybody. You, the city attorney, and I know he's our city attorney, but you gotta work with him with city ordinances.
Sure.
Resolutions, stuff like that. So technically, you could have gone all the way over here because technically you can.
Right. Okay. So, like I said, this is just a real broad shot. Obviously, there's, I kind of group people together rather than dividing up who's going to report to who. But I would like to see, like right now in these two positions, wastewater, water foreman and parks maintenance foreman. I mean, we have kind of two good people in place now. And I'd like those kind of to be their titles, and then we kind of will, and of course, everyone's kind of interchangeable just depending on the need, like when we had city cleanup, when there wasn't a leak, they all tackled it.
Yeah.
When there's a major leak, like we had last week behind the Baptist church, they all tackled it kind of thing. But I think just to kind of get a general idea of how it breaks down. Because like when one's out, the other one's in charge. That's kind of that's how we're working now. Because I think we put kind of Jerry Sanchez as the main foreman, but I think we do need to kind of have two equal supervisors in case one's out. There's still some leadership at the shop.
Let me just intervene here with
Sure.
what Billy was talking about.
Mhm.
Yes, this is the ordinance where I guess it's 456. And it's basically the powers and duties of the mayor. And the ordinance says that all supervisor position applicants shall first be interviewed by the mayor and city secretary, which we don't have anymore. We have a city administrator, with their recommendations made to city council for final selection. So
What is that?
Huh?
The ordinance number, what is that?
456,
4.56.
456.
But not the foreman.
No, not the foreman. This is just all department supervisors positions.
Because this superintendent is a big title. He's gonna be in charge of everybody out there.
Mm-hmm,
He's right below you.
mm-hmm.
So the council would decide on that.
Are you reading a policy or
It's a city ordinance,
well, you said 456?
456.
I'm not finding it on the code here.
It was signed actually by Billy, July
That's why.
7th, 2020.
So, you know, what's that?
It just says in the city council, other municipal officers included the marshal. So we, city council does the marshal,
Wrote it down.
Oh,
treasurer,
it's just a,
tax assessor,
Okay.
city secretary, city administrator, engineer. That's who we hire. The rest, Sal does.
No, that's why there's an ordinance.
No.
The law,
No, that's not, that's just,
no, this is the general law.
no, it's not general law. It's just, that's not Texas statute.
It's a statute.
No, it's not.
It is.
It's not a statute.
Yeah, but the ordinance, the body here, the government body can make changes and so they
Yeah.
create their own rules. And this was a rule that was created in 2020
To include,
to I don't want to talk outside the camera, but that was that ordinance / law was introduced in 2020 and passed, that all supervisor positions have to be approved by the council. So
supervisor.
supervisor, not
And I remember those discussions. I think that was the intent of the council back then, is that the main, I guess supervisors or
Right, he's
Yeah.
a superintendent.
the council.
Even
had
though it
to-
says public works, but he's talking about main, he's gonna be in charge of the both one.
Mhm.
So that's why he holds a very.
But do we have that title?
we had it before, like I said, it's a little wonky. We don't have it right
We
now.
don't have that.
We don't have it right now.
Remember Jay used to be?
Yeah, in charge of everybody, yeah.
I think Redgate also, when John Redgate, that's what he was appointed.
Yeah, that's where, yeah.
And he was
Okay,
by the
okay,
council.
okay.
But we don't have it.
Right, we don't have it.
So where do we fall then?
This is just the basic.
Well, right now, he's hiring the foreman. So the mayor and administrator, they can hire foremen, whoever they want. They don't have to go before us.
But that's the thing, y'all can change because one opinion can be like, well, no one in the political spot should be involved in hiring anything but below officers. Just because if you can pop, like, I'm just saying, if there's possible, political pressure, or hire my cousin, or I'll make your life difficult, I mean, those are some of the cons of having elected people, in that who are in charge of the person also hiring.
Right.
So that's something you need to weigh also, to avoid future issues.
well, I think that, I'm getting back to here from the camera. I think that the way it's set up right now is fine. I don't have any disagreements with it simply because it kind of gives us a chance to look at what well, not us, I should say y'all, a chance to look at what we're trying to, who we're trying to hire. You know, we can narrow it down from 8 candidates to maybe 2 and bring it to council and say, hey, look, these are the 2 candidates that we like, and you guys have some buy-in on who we're gonna bring in, instead of just, you know, 2 people over here making a decision, you know, and then you guys are like, well, I don't even like that person. I don't think that person's qualified or whatever. So I like the way it is right now, just because it gives y'all an opportunity to look at those candidates.
Yeah.
And y'all can come in and sit in the interviews too if you want. I mean, that's what we've always done. That's what we've done when I was here, when I first started, invite y'all to these interviews when we're looking to interview for a city administrator. And those who can, and those that can't come, well, you can't make it, I understand. So,
Well, I think you have to also be conscientious of not having a quorum. You can't have a quorum. That's why now, you know, I said.
yeah, we did
probably-
that before.
But
We
you
did
can
that.
always advertise and say, you know, potential quorum on interview on this day, you just post, that's it.
Mm.
It's
You'd have to-
potential quorum, that's all you're gonna put. And we can sit in and just,
But the public can show up then and sit also.
No.
Yeah,
Personnel.
it's personnel.
yeah, you would go into like executive session.
Is it?
Yeah. Do personnel.
Yeah, you don't do it out in public.
We've never done it before, but I guess,
Mhm.
because before, I think the intent of doing it the way it is right now is that council says, you know what, we don't want to be part of the initial screening. Let the mayor and the
Yeah,
administrator
yeah.
do it and bring us your final candidates. And then we can bring those into executive session and interview
Right.
and see who we're going to select.
Mhm.
That was I remember the intent of doing it the way council did it back in 2020.
Mhm.
And we never had the potential conflict of,
Yeah, I mean, so like, for example, the municipal judge position, so we're hiring for that. So it would be me and mayor and then at least one of y'all to avoid quorum. Do the initial screening and then we'd make the recommendation to council.
Or it
And
could
then,
just be
and
y'all
then,
two.
and y'all decide.
It could be y'all two.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you,
Well, I know Jesse has municipal court background, so
Oh,
just
yeah.
expertise wise, I think that he'd be a good addition to the
Right.
interviewing process.
Well,
And you could, I don't know if you could be there too. I mean, that's
Mr. Bain?
just ideas.
you have some feedback?
For my own edification, are you considering shifting from the municipal judge being a contractor?
That's almost what I was going to bring up. We need to remember that municipal judge isn't an employee of the city.
Right, it's a contract.
He's just he or she's going to be a
So
contractor.
you can't go into executive
Yeah.
session.
So, I mean, that's,
That's a good point.
you're talking about a whole different, you know,
So then we wouldn't be involved.
you could
Not-
be involved.
We say for like, if we were to do a quorum and interview for a contractor, right, then it is kind of an open meetings issue there. But I think the plan now, I think it'd be fine. Like I said, me and Mayor, maybe if Jesse has time, if you can be there just to interview the 2 candidates and then make the recommendation to council as a body. And then I think if you go into if you go into executive session, you can only talk about the legal aspects of that contract. You can't negotiate money and talk about other related matters, but then y'all can still, you know, that'd be an opportunity for you to speak to them also, but.
well, I mean, I don't even know if we need to go to executive session. So is it a contract? Because it's a contract.
Yeah, if you want to keep it completely open, you can do that too, yeah.
It doesn't have to.
Yeah.
So, and then again, I think we have to kind of remember that as a contractor, we can't really be telling them, hey, you have to be here on this date or that.
Mhm.
They will work their own schedule with Epi and when he needs to be there. So, all right, let's go on.
Okay.
But wouldn't, as a contractor, we tell them on the days we need them? Like,
We can
That's
make
not
suggestions.
uncommon that
We
you
can make
say,
suggestions.
I need for you, and I'm looking for somebody on these 2 days. Can you do it? We can do
Or so many
that.
hours.
For so
I do
many
that all
hours.
the time. When
Right.
I contract out, I contract.
Well, the contract's gonna
OTs,
say. how
PTs, like,
many
I
court-
need someone on these
how many
days.
court
Can you come?
sessions, right? That's how we did it with previous judge. We told her, we're gonna pay you X amount of dollars, and you gotta host X amount of court dates.
Right.
Now,
Now, if they
the judge decided to come in
every day.
on her own every day, that's up to her.
We pay her.
You know, we didn't pay her, but I know that, you know, she frowned on it, but that wasn't.
Yeah.
Because with Guerrero, we had court twice a month.
Right.
On Fridays. And then, and that's when we had defendants come in and we had our little trials or whatever we did. But I know she was there every day, and people would come in and they want to pay, and they enter a plea of no contest, they draw up their paperwork. And then she would sign it or whatever. And then when I would come in and say, I got some documents, or they scan it to me and I would sign it and send it back. That way we can process the case. Right. But she was there.
I know.
Let me
change that.
Yeah, I know.
No,
which is-
but-
Especially after
I
she
admire her
retired from
for that,
San
but,
Pat. She,
you know, it wasn't a contract. The contract says,
Like her coffee, she needed a coffee.
yeah.
All right,
They have an ordinance for the
I've
mayor.
heard that.
let's go on, Sal.
So,
You got
Governing
15, you got 15 minutes.
okay, governing authority was brought up, and I think we even had that conversation too, so. It actually came up before because we were talking about like spending, policy and who can spend what and that kind of stuff. So to our ordinance here, let's see, so right here, all powers of the city vested. So this is the main section here. And well, that's part 2, reported. So I'll let Epi kind of dive into that part, since it's,
Sean asked me to look into this issue here, and I looked at it and I said, well, it seems like the mayor's got that authority to spend up to, not to exceed 25,000. He said, well, have you read through it all? I said, well, and I kept looking at it, and it says that if there's a city administrator that's been appointed, and I think that's the one I've got here, then that the city administrator is now, what does it say? Let me read it. Is all powers of the city vested in the city council. Authority for purchasing of goods and services is delegated to the mayor, provided the purchase does not exceed 25,000. The mayor's authority is delegated to the city secretary or designated city administrator, subject to the requirements of this policy and adopted purchasing procedures. Right? To ensure proper oversight, all purchases and requisites in excess of 5,000 will be reported to council monthly. Okay, and this comes from there's an ordinance, I guess, the Odom's purchasing policy, and there's a section, so you can see it up there, 2-422. And when I look at that, it to me, the way I interpret that is that the mayor has that authority, but once you designate a city administrator, then that's delegated to the city administrator to make that purchase not to exceed 25,000. And any purchases over $5,000, of course, he's got to report to the council at the end of the month that an expenditure was made. That's the way I read this, and I don't know what your take is on it, but I guess the issue is, does that take away from the mayor, being that we now have a city administrator? Does the mayor now,
No,
is he
it
stripped
says
of that
city-
25,000?
It says, city secretary or designated city administrator. So we've always had a city secretary. The city administrator was done by the previous mayor to assist and was solely hired to do audits and all that, but that didn't
Right.
happen. But the way we designed this, the statute says $50,000, right?
Right.
So the council said, no, let's just limit to 25,000, but it still comes from the mayor. Let's say there's a pipe that burst and it's gonna cost $23,000. So the mayor can say, you know what? Sal, go ahead and start looking at somebody, hire somebody, and that's it. So he's delegating right there just to do the job.
And I guess that's what was.
But not to do it on his own, it's still gonna come from
Right.
him.
and see that's how, that was interpretation that I had, because that was my question mark. So the way I read it initially was, so like, let's say that 6 months you didn't have a city administrator, the mayor could spend the 25.
Yeah.
Right? And then report anything over 5 to the council. Once the city administrator or secretary is in place, the mayor no longer has the authority. Authority goes to the city administrator. And then that has to be reported.
No, when we did that, it was designed for that. They wanted to limit the powers of the mayor to spend less than 50,000. They even wanted the mayor to spend only 5,000. And I told the council, how am I gonna work with this, with the city secretary? I can't. If there's a pipe that busts, how are we gonna have a 72-hour meeting for you to approve this project? So that's why they said, okay, 25,000.
Okay.
And,
I guess
no, it
just,
still comes
well,
from
just
the
because it
power of
reads,
the
it says, well, it says and that maybe that needs to be reworded because it says the mayor's authority is delegated. So that tells me like up here, there.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. The mayor can say, Sal, go ahead and spend, we got this leak right here, it's gonna cost 24,000. You don't even have to go out for bids, because it's not over the 50,000.
Mhm.
Just go ahead and hire somebody to do it, and that's it.
The question is, can he go spend, or does he, does?
No,
And-
he delegates to him.
But can I spend 25,000, 25,
depends-
not on my own?
And it depends upon what is in your adopted purchasing procedures. And I believe your adopted purchasing procedures name the mayor as being able to spend up to $25,000. However much of that he wishes to delegate to your city administrator is up to the mayor.
Right, exactly, and that's what I'm saying. But you on your own cannot go and spend 26,000 or even.
Oh, yeah.
Unless he says he can.
That's right.
No,
Well,
no, it's over 25.
It's over 25.
No, we're 25, I go to council.
But if it's something that you spend on a regular basis,
Mhm.
then yeah, it's okay. I mean, if it's gonna cost $4,000 or $5,000 to.
I think that's what your question is. Can I go spend without going to the mayor all the time?
Can I spend $24,999
You
with
still
what?
have to go to the mayor.
I think that's-
But I guess and I'm gonna look at it as an administrator. It's my budget. I don't have to ask to how to spend it because, I mean, yes, I guess, because what if there's decisions, I don't know, and I don't even know if this is happening, I'm just talking. Like, how would the mayor know how much, because I keep track of the budget. Like, nobody really knows what the budget looks like. How does he know, yes, we have that amount of money to spend? It would be a combination of maybe working together versus one making you know what I'm saying? Like,
Well,
to just say, oh, we're gonna go spend $25,000 on this, but what if we don't even have $25,000? And is it in the budget? Like, who's overseeing that? How does that work?
Well, that's
what
Yeah.
you do.
He oversees it, but I keep up with everything.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
I'm
mayor
not
is-
gonna, I mean, I'm the
Like,
elected
you know
official,
he's got
I'm
that
the
kind of
chief
money.
executive officer of the
He's
city.
He's the finance officer as well.
Yeah, and I'm the chief finance officer of the city. So I check our bank regularly.
So if there's something that he wants to purchase, he has to ask all the time?
No, but if it's over 25, if it's,
That's what I'm saying, like, so like,
Just finished saying that if it was still less than 25, so.
Well, you
no, you
still,
gotta report it to council.
Anything
We're talking
over
about the
five.
mayor, but,
But what about the city administrator, I guess?
Well, like
It's
I said,
what
okay.
if there's-
that was created because they didn't want, and I'm gonna be honest, they didn't want me to spend money without them knowing what I was spending money on. So they wanted me to spend $5,000, and I said, well, I'm not gonna be able to work with the city secretary. So you're right, you're working
You would work
together
together.
anyway. So they said, well, then we'll just do 25.
And the reason we did that is because you were doing contracts and we didn't know what you were doing.
Right.
Because you were going, oh, I hired him, like, okay, did Jamie know or what?
That's
where
why
we
they did it.
That's what we did, because you're,
Yeah, they wanted,
yeah.
Which is why it's okay.
Yeah, no.
and that's the way I feel. I
But
think,
wouldn't
I
it
think
be
the
usually
more,
in the contracts, not The mayor?
See, look
Because
at what
he's the
happened
one
with
running the city.
with the previous
Right?
mayor,
Yeah,
look at what happened,
but-
when it got out of hand with all this
But
seven
just
hundred and
to
four
let
hundred
you
thousand.
know.
Yeah, but I still read any contracts.
That's exactly what happened.
See,
I read through them because I have my own questions. Because if I'm not
Then why do we
involved,
need a city administrator? I
But
guess
you
I
gotta-
feel like
But
that's,
you gotta understand
that's
that,
like,
that we're still
Second signature.
a city secretary form of government. A city administrator was created, and it's just an ordinance, am I correct? They created that position for Janie, I'll say names, that's okay. It was created for Janie to work very closely with the former mayor to handle all of the audits and stuff. That's the reason behind that city administrator. But
but he's taken on a different type of role with that, like.
no, it's the same thing. He's still under the same thing, but he's
No,
right.
I'm saying he's not just.
He's a city secretary, he's a city
He's not
administrator.
just doing audits.
Right.
So let me ask this, and like I said, this has
I don't
nothing to do
know,
with
it's
who's in
both sides.
power, who's in place now, who has power, who's in the past. I think of the worst case scenario, right? So the reason I read it the way I read it was because, well, that's a good checks and balances, right? So because like in, let's say in like county world, each commissioner has its own budget, right? They can do whatever they want with that budget, right? But beyond that, they can't spend any more. So let's say in the future, someone gets in office and just starts like, well, I'm going to start just buying Cadillacs for everybody.
Well, that's what happened with the previous.
Well, I'm not trying to get into that. What I'm saying is that, like, let's say,
But still-
whoever that is, who stops them?
you can't use the county as an example
No,
because
no, I'm getting out of that conversation.
Right.
This is a separate conversation. If a mayor gets in here and decides, I'm gonna buy Cadillacs for everybody, who stops them?
The council.
The purchasing policies, which limit the
Yeah,
mayor
but
to
what if the
twenty-five
Cadillac
thousand
costs
dollars.
$23,000?
But what I'm saying is that it's happened, and I'm not trying to get back past,
They still have to report
but
it.
it can get out of hand.
And it did.
It can get out of hand if you don't have these sort of cutoffs for people,
Yeah, because.
But that's what I'm saying. So like yes, it works if you have a responsible, knowledgeable person in that position, but if you don't, it can get crazy and then you're back in the hole, and I'll be honest with you, like if I were to have to deal with that kind of environment, I'm out, honestly, but luckily we have reasonable people here and we're kind of moving along quickly, but crazy things have happened in elections. Anyone can run for office. That's what I'm saying. And if they can win, all it takes is one person getting off the ballot.
well, the thing is, though, Sal,
Mhm.
is if I don't run for office next year and somebody else gets in here, then it's your responsibility to let them know what the next mayor is doing.
Mhm.
And let the community know what the next mayor is doing. What's happened in the past is people never spoke up.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff going on and nobody ever spoke up because I was afraid to lose my job. Well, you couldn't have lost your job if you would have come out openly and said, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Council members were not made aware.
Like that
See,
car.
Renee,
Of
we're not-
expenditures.
We're not talking about power. The power is different. This is financial.
Sure.
It's like the CDs, we have an ordinance that anytime you catch a CD, it has to go before.
Mhm.
We even created, back in the day,
And did it ever go in front of council all the time?
No.
We were there,
Yeah,
yes.
we did.
oh, we did all the time. But never did we catch any CDs without. But the previous, they allowed the mayor to decide and as you need it.
And was that an ordinance or was that just?
It's
a-
an ordinance.
No, they
So,
just-
no, but I'm saying, with the previous mayor, is it an ordinance that made her, who gave her the power? How was it?
It was in a meeting. It was,
Yeah, there
I
was
could
something-
say place, 2, 3.
There was something put in place to give the power.
They just said, you spend it however you need it. You don't have to come before us anymore.
So that is still going on with us coming in.
Well, yeah, but it was only decided with a former mayor. But there's
Okay,
still an ordinance.
so it died down with the.
Yeah.
But it's still an ordinance.
It's still in place where, and I think it had a lot,
We need to put that in the agenda to.
Try to find that ordinance where we had a financial committee, and it was the council, the mayor, city administrator. There's a CD that matures, we would have a meeting, hey, this CD's gonna mature, what do y'all wanna do? Well, it's 200,000, we need 100,000 to buy this, this and that, the other 100, give you the authority to go ahead and invest. Try to find the best CD. So that's how we did it, remember this?
Yeah.
And it worked out perfect.
So, okay, so let me get this straight. So the mayor can say, come into the office, say, give me the card, I'm gonna go buy something. And if it's less than 5,000, he doesn't have to report it to y'all. And if I don't think it's in the budget, he or she can still do it and create a deficit.
Well,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, technically, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and that happens
Yes.
in every government. Look at our federal government, where it's at,
Yeah,
you know?
well, no, I
That
understand
happens
that.
in every government, but it's your responsibility to come to city council the next
It's not
meeting,
budgeted.
or even contact the city council and say, hey, David just took the card and he just went and spent freaking $24,999 on whatever, you know? And then David has to answer to them. And then, of course, they're gonna go out and tell the community, David just went and bought, you know? So, I mean, that's the checks and balances, you know, is letting somebody know.
See, what I thought it worked was that, let's say any one of you come to me and say, you know, I think we should get this, it costs like 15,000. I would say, well, you know, I think we should, right? And then if it doesn't pass the smell test at the administration level, then it goes to council and the council overrides the administration's decision, saying, no, we can't afford that. But that, you're telling me that's not true.
But you gotta look at that purchasing
Policy.
like, it even talks about computers, talks about, you just can't go buy a $10,000 computer.
Right.
You still has to go. Best thing to do is try to find a.
Yeah, we need to fix something.
Yeah, if you need more space out, then that's fine. If you want to, I'm just saying, all I'm saying is.
There's a certain way that we're placed that we're not.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna talk to, you know, this next year, to kind of, what are the steps we need to take to amend some of the ordinances.
It's not a matter, you're still considered a city secretary. So you're still under the mayor, but you have powers to run the show. You run it, but when it comes to financial, you just can't pay otherwise $24,000 machine or whatever.
So like, I guess, like, so like every week something comes up where it's like, hey, we need to go do this repairs, we need to buy all these things. So I'll get a PO, I'll approve it, right, because thinking that's how it works. So it sounds to me I can do that, needs to go here.
Yes, the PO, in reality, the PO is supposed to be you and the mayor, that's the way it's created. Yes.
That's how it's signature.
That's the way the PO is designed. Yeah.
Like the day-to-day running business stuff.
No, but we're talking about 5,000.
No, I'm talking about less than 5,000.
Yeah.
See, that's not clear here. It says 25 is your max.
If you need to run the city.
Well, here's my concern is with the body, to say in the future, if I'm still, when I'm still here, because I don't mean a while, y'all aren't, there's a different interpretation of that, and it's not clear in here.
We need to
You know
make
what I
it,
mean?
we need to make it clear.
If we want to make, yeah, we could change it however.
I mean, your
the
day-to-day,
terminology-
we can't, that's yours.
Because again, that purchasing, that was talking about the powers of the mayor, right?
Right, yes, but
See?
yeah.
Now, if you want, we can create one for the administrator. What this is, the administrator.
Let me see what the city administrator, see if there's anything, because I have to
What you got there?
budget.
Well, one of the things that's on your table of contents of your budget package is financial policies. And what we're kicking around here falls into the category of purchasing policies. And basically, the way this works,
Like it, I'm sorry.
basically, the way this works is that you have a budget. And you have authorized the mayor to spend up to $25,000 of whatever's in your budget. If it's not in your budget, he can't just go
Yeah,
spend it.
amen.
Yeah,
Unless he
that's
wants
what
to,
I
man.
was. That's
All
what I
right, so that's one thing
Okay.
that we need to
Because he
keep in
still
mind.
needs to stick to the budget.
He has to stick within the budget. There is a line item, council contingencies, that technically he could go and spend, assuming that there's still 25,000 year to date in that line item. He could go spend from that line item. He can't spend outside of that line item except in the event of an emergency.
See, that's what I was.
And then at the next meeting of the council, there's an obligation to report what has been spent. Now, if your mayor chooses to, and I believe he has, to delegate to your city administrator his purchasing authorities for items that are included within the budget up to X amount, he does so. Now, what I'm hearing is a question of how do we deal with recurring purchases? How do you deal with maintenance items, as an example? When it's time to pay your electric bill, you know you're gonna pay your electric bill every month. You got a purchase order to Centerport or Oasis Electric or whoever the provider is that is authorizing X amount a month for the city administrator to pay the bills. You're done. It can be that simple, but what you have there, or what you had up there in the ordinance, was making reference to the purchasing policy. So therein lies the key. What is your city administrator's purchasing authority without having to get council approval? Well, by definition, his purchasing authority is what's been delegated by the mayor. Because as I saw the statute, the mayor is still the chief administrative officer of the city.
So then like if he needs to buy something breaks, oh yeah, we need to buy whatever, like.
$12,000 worth.
Yeah.
If it's in the budget.
Yeah, he would just call the mayor. Hey, mayor, this costs $12,000, just to let
But
you
like
know,
whatever,
I need it.
like a hose or a couple, I mean, would he
Yeah, but
still need to
ain't-
call the mayor? Like he needs to buy, we need to buy
He's not gonna wake the
$100
mayor up on Friday night when he's gotta go get.
$100 worth of hoses or whatever, or something, or pipes or whatever. Would he still need to call them?
No.
Okay.
Unless it's over.
No.
Because that's your day-to-day operation.
Did you find his, thing, David?
No, I couldn't find anything.
Because that was
okay.
The ordinance where they created the position,
Jamie?
there has nothing, it says nothing about,
Right.
money.
Because it was designed for her to assist in the audits. That's what that position was created for. If you read her contract, it says that. But if we gotta, I'm thinking if we gotta change it and add some stuff more for him, giving him more power, I'm okay with it.
So
But
last question, because it sounds like we have a lot to clarify there later on if you want to. My understanding is that not any individual person here is my supervisor or boss. The body is my boss. So like Elizabeth can't come and say, I'd like you to start wearing pink on Fridays every day and type backwards. I use extreme situations, but that's not what they asked for, right? So I don't like, so I don't have, so I'm not, it was not a reasonable request because everyone has come and asked for, something or, what do you think? And I think I've reached out to y'all and said, what do you think? That kind of stuff. So that's a great dynamic. But I think, again, I'm not trying to bring up people, just saying in the past, it looks like the behavior was you had either council people or mayors going to staff or city secretaries and say, you do this and you don't talk to so-and-so and you do that. And that's how it's going to be. That's what I think contributed to some of the bad record keeping and out of hand that went on, right? So that's what I want to clear up too, is so and also for my own edification, it's like, so if Jesse tells me to do something and I don't agree with it or think it's reasonable, whatever it is, and or he doesn't like something I'm doing, he can tell me, yeah, hey Sal, maybe you do it this way, and I said, no, I think I should do it that way. Then he goes to the body and says, hey, he's doing this, I don't think it's great, what do y'all think? And then you kind of just, then as the body, the majority says, you say,
But I
yeah.
don't think
Well,
we should be involved in
Well, I don't
any of
think
it.
any of that should be
That's
micromanaging anything.
I know,
Mhm.
you're running, that's your department.
Mhm.
Well, what
I think
happens
we
is
should be
every now and
telling
then, every now and then somebody has Jesse's phone number, and because Jesse writes it in the bathrooms everywhere he goes. So everybody has Jesse's number. So if the grass is overgrown at the corner of Cook and whatever, they'll call Jesse and say, "Hey, Jesse, hey, can you get the maintenance guys to come and cut this grass over here?" Well, in the past, you know, sometimes some of the city council would call the maintenance guys and say, "Hey, can you go and mow this grass over here? You know, put it on the work order or whatever." You guys haven't been doing that now. I mean, and most of sometimes you guys will call me after Janie left and say, "Hey, I went by and they have this grass issue, whatever." Then they should be calling you and telling you, "Hey, Sal, uh, uh, citizen said, hey, can you put this in the work order?" And then you make a work order and the guys will deal with it. We shouldn't be calling the maintenance guys directly
No.
unless it's an emergency and we can't get a hold of you. And that's happened before where I'm calling you and you're not answering and I have something that's going on and I have to just call Jerry or the other Jerry or whoever and say, "Hey, I need you guys to go check on this water leak over here on Hasty, whatever." And, then when you call me back, you just say, "Hey, I have to send the guys over here." But they all know that if any one of us calls them for something, they should let him know. And then they can put a work order in place because what was happening, and even when I got it first in, is things were getting done and there was no work orders for them, because they were out there in the field. Hey, somebody would call them, a council member, whoever would call them, and then they'd go and do it, but they wouldn't submit a work order for it. So I think we've streamlined that part of it,
I think it should all go to you.
which
And
is
then
the
you
way it should
decide.
be.
Yes.
Like, we shouldn't say,
We shouldn't tell
we should
any
just say,
employee.
"Hey, somebody contacted me about this," and that's it. I mean, then you decide what's
Mhm.
gonna happen, not us.
Right, prioritize it.
Yeah.
But that was someone,
We just let
I
you
forget.
know somebody contacted us for whatever.
Right. It's just someone had said a long time ago, like the mayor, like, "Well, the mayor's your boss." And I go, is he my direct supervisor? Or is the body
No,
my
the
direct
body.
supervisor?
The body is your boss.
Right.
But me as the chief executive officer and chief financial officer, my responsibility is to know what's going on overall,
Financially, yeah.
both
Oh, yeah, yeah,
financially
financial
and,
ordinances, all that kind of stuff.
you
Yes,
know,
yes.
and that's why I'm not gonna, and I've tried to hand things over to you,
Mhm, yeah.
and let you, even emails that I get, but I've also told you multiple times, if you're feeling overwhelmed, or if this is something that needs to be done tomorrow, and you can't do it, just tell me and I'll do it,
Mhm.
because I've been doing it already since Janie left, so I don't want you to feel overwhelmed with the amount of work that you're getting, because there's a lot of stuff that you as the administrator, ideas that we are putting out there, like right now that we're talking about, you as an administrator have to correct all these things, zeroing out these things on the Encode. That's something you have to deal with. None of us are going to deal with it. So there's a lot of things administratively that you're going to deal with, and you don't have the trained staff to delegate some of that stuff. So you're going to have to, and if you've never done it before, then you're going to have to educate yourself somehow
Mhm.
to get it done. And that's kind of the expectation. So, and I've told you multiple times, if there's something you feel like, you know what, David, I can't get that done, right away because I'm working on, and I'll deal with it. I don't have no problem helping you out where I can, when I can. But I still need to stay informed of what's going on
Mhm.
overall, because just like Yolanda was talking about, I think Yolanda has her budget, but she still has to report to the superintendent. And the superintendent still has to know what Yolanda's doing with her money, because in the end, it does come back to him. In the end, things will come back to me. And I've told you this, you're not an elected official, you're hired, but as elected officials, the community has entrusted us to make sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to do, including you.
Mhm.
But we won't know because they didn't know. They were not being told what was happening. By who? By the person that used to sit in that position, in that chair right there. So like you're afraid that you have these scenarios in your mind. Well, what if this? You don't think that we think, well, what if Sal decides to just start doing what they were doing before? And he just
Sure.
wants to do whatever he wants, doesn't let us know. We're making decisions left and right over here. Okay, we're going to approve this, approve that. But we don't have the money to do it because Sal's not letting us know because Sal's doing his own thing, you know, and that's what we don't want to go back to.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
And I
Hopefully.
guess we have our budget, like I have my budget. But once the budget gets approved, I don't have to ask for some permission for anything. I follow the budget. And that's what I'm used to.
And the purchasing policies. You can't go spend $200,000 because it's in your budget.
I have to spend it on whatever I said I was gonna spend.
Right. But your purchasing policies for the
I have to
organization.
submit my purchase orders for everything and then they
Okay.
get approved.
That's,
because
that's the policy.
Back
But
to
the
the paper.
business manager approves them.
because what was happening, and I think Jesse actually pointed this out because before I became mayor, because
Yeah,
I
they
think
did.
I was at a city council where Jesse pointed out, I think you made a comment or you asked a question about were there funds being moved around?
Oh, yeah.
And they said, oh, no, we don't do that, you know. But then when I came in, yeah, there was. That's how they were able to say,
Line
oh,
items.
line items.
We don't do that.
And any,
Yeah.
any money that we.
Remember, yeah, they did it.
Yeah,
If
it
it's
was
not
always,
in the same
And
code, it has to go to board.
exactly. And that's what they weren't doing here. You know, they were just moving money around to make things
Oh, we
look
don't do
like
that.
everything was okay.
And back in the day, we used to get a report, the council got a report of every check that cleared.
Mhm.
And I think that stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what we're gonna work on is not necessarily giving a copy of every check.
Well, there's a checklist
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
report.
Yeah.
In your inbox, you'll see a check for all checks since October 1 in
Yes.
excess of $5,000
Right.
through today.
And
It's in their box.
because I felt when I came on board, I didn't want to give, because the checks have account numbers and routing numbers, and there's no reason for everybody to be taking these things home, you know, and they're just sitting around somewhere where somebody can get access. So just giving a report of this is all the checks for the last month, you know, without anything as far as routing numbers and account numbers and nothing like that for y'all to see.
No,
think
no,
that
we would
works.
never do
No,
that.
it was just a number.
No, we would just get check number 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, no, there weren't.
That's
Put them out, and that's it. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And to who is for it.
No, I've seen like packets of like agendas where there was like copies of checks.
No.
in there.
Never
I don't know if they ever did that, but I've seen things with actual copies of checks
No.
with them.
So
So,
usually like check 000 to
That's
cleaning house, $50.
XYZ construction, that's
Yeah,
it.
it was never checked.
It was like this.
That way, if it's $5,000, hey, what did you spend $5,000 on?
mhm.
And that's when we started giving the guy was getting paid all his money, like, hey, wait a minute.
That's, yeah.
That's what we caught, what's his
That
name,
was-
was
Yeah.
getting paid like, hey,
Yeah.
you got 10,000 here, next week another 10,000, that's what we caught that.
Yeah, and I think there was
That's what we
even,
caught that.
It's true.
Yeah.
and I think there was even some things where,
Contract.
you know, that contractor
Yeah.
got paid like 30-something thousand
Yeah,
dollars
yeah,
without
yeah.
going to
Yeah.
council.
Yes.
A lot of them,
Mhm.
there's multiple.
Yeah.
And that's,
Without
remember I
everything.
said it was like,
Yes.
that's what we founded that.
Yeah, we're doing the first meetings, we said, hey. Yeah, right away,
And
right
then I
there.
started adding them up. You've already taken this.
So that to kind
So
of,
check
to
register.
kind of ease Sal's
Council
mind,
report. So it doesn't
You
have
know,
all of the.
if we do have an emergency
Security.
and it's gonna be
Date
more
on
than
it.
$25,000 to
Date.
fix, you know,
The line item.
obviously we can't wait till the next city council meeting
No,
to
he
approve
would
it.
just call you.
You know, if it's gonna be,
Okay, thank you.
you know, $30,000 to fix it, you know,
It's an emergency.
it's an emergency. We just let you guys know, hey, we're gonna, you know, we need to do this or that. Yeah,
And
so,
Sal's been very good about
Yeah.
sending us emails on everything.
mhm, yeah.
So
I like
far.
the calendar invites too for everything.
Yeah, I like that too,
Let your
because I
hair grow
forget
down,
stuff.
let your hair grow and you'll be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
There's not gonna be an emergency that's gonna cost over $50,000, because that is the statute is over $50,000 and you gotta go out for bids. There's no way that you're gonna get a leak in the middle of the night. It's gonna cost $50,000. No, there's no way.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know, because
Hey,
I remember, we don't have any machine that works. We have no equipment.
Well, by the time you rent a piece of equipment,
No.
I think the most
Well-
expensive one was when that fire hydrant broke. I think that ended up being almost $4,000.
yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. There's no way.
4,000.
Okay, we beat this horse to death.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go, next.
Okay. That's pretty much it. Like I said, I mean, I wanted to just clarify like who, because like I said, it was a little this, a little that, interpretations, that kind of stuff. Sounds like we'd open the door to maybe look at some spending policy changes also.
Yeah.
So, and mainly was just showing this graph, mainly to make sure that that's what, of course, the police department's not on there because we're not operating like that, but if that happens, then that'll be added on there.
What I would like to know though, and this is probably a legal question, because there are some ordinances, because we have ordinances and then we have department policy and then we have the government code thing. Well, we need to make sure that everything's kind of on the same page because
That's what
because you have,
we haven't had Unicode since 20.
20 probably.
Yeah, so the
No.
Unicode, we need, that's another thing, maybe
It
you should
needs
put
to
that.
be
We
consistent
need
with
to, we need
the
to
other.
Yeah.
hire them, because they came in here and they did it like I said, September 1, 2000, new orders came in. And they fixed it all up and they typed it up and.
Because that's the
Ours are
change
old.
we
What
should
we
be
would do,
changing
to
ours.
approve an ordinance, send it to them and they put it.
Yep.
Yeah.
We haven't done that in 4 years.
Yeah.
So that's where, Mayor, is where you're getting your old stuff.
yeah, because there are still
Yeah.
some ordinances and how do we
Yeah.
get rid of those or update them? And do we have to
Unicode,
do
I guess
amendments?
We got a budget Unicode, it's like, what, 9,000, 8,000 for?
I can't remember. But I mean, I'm assuming that over the years that someone was making sure that your ordinances didn't usurp government state law.
Well, they did.
Okay.
That's what you hire for. They come in there,
So if you pass an ordinance and send it
they
to
said
them,
it and they did.
and they said, hey, wait a minute, you can't do that because the state law says this,
Right.
That's what
they
you
would
hire
say,
them for.
you can't do it.
Right.
So they'll tell you that at Unicode? Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
And
Give
there
you an
are,
example. Okay, $50,000 is the statute
right,
in the local government code that you gotta go out for bids.
yes.
Okay, we cannot create an ordinance to say 60,000.
Sure.
You can't.
Right.
But you can backtrack, and that's why they
yeah,
say
you can do
powers of the
it.
mayor, 25,000. That's it. But then, again.
You can make it less, but you can't make it
Yeah.
more.
So that's where they come in, they go like, hey, wait a minute, this is not wrong, this is wrong.
Mhm.
So we do need to hire Mayor, we just
Yeah,
get these things updated, because
exactly.
people are looking at old stuff like, hey, wait a minute, you can't do that. Wait,
Yeah.
no, that's old.
Yeah.
It's old stuff.
September, so new. So-
And so within your existing chart or the chart that's on the screen, where are the ordinances being maintained?
In our Minico, we got Minico.
Who, what position here is
Administrator.
writing that's you?
Be with the
But
city
you said
administrator.
maintained or
It
written?
used to be a city administrator, but they dropped the ball too, that's back 3 or 4 years.
You're saying maintained or written?
Maintain, like send to Unicode, they should be the city administrator.
Yeah, yeah.
Who's doing the minutes?
Oh, the city administrator.
So let me ask
Yeah.
you guys that have been here longer. Since we created, because the way the government, with the way our government is structured, we're supposed to technically have a city secretary, right? But we don't have a city secretary. We have a city administrator. So
It's the same thing.
are we still meeting that? Requirement?
This is a new, see, if we would have had the Minico, they would put this ordinance in there. Ordinance 462, the ordinance of creating a city administrator.
Okay.
And all the stuff
But it
that's
doesn't,
there
but it
will be
doesn't,
changed.
but it doesn't say anything about doing away with the city secretary position. Does
The
it?
form of government still stays the same.
Okay.
As far as the mayor being the chief executive officer, okay, we're not like Sinton. The manager can do, he's
Oh,
got
yeah.
more, a little bit more power than the mayor.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's not like that here. Now, the mayor cannot go and say, hey, I told you to go have the guys over here and y'all didn't do it. No, that he can't.
So,
He
but
can't
if
boss you around like that.
we would have the new Minico, this,
You know what I'm saying?
all
Yeah.
this would have been changed.
Because,
Yeah.
yeah,
As we did back in, city administrator came on.
20.
2021.
One.
So that's when the new.
So he would be
segment-
like us, hey, they call me about this or whatever, not, hey, you need to go do it.
Yeah.
Send them. He would just
Hey,
let
like
him
when I
know.
called you last time about the laundromat that they overfilled.
Right.
You know, I could have called the, why am I gonna call the guys? That's not my job. So I just say, hey,
Sure.
you need to monitor
So,
that because, you know.
Maybe Sal could probably get us a horn Monday, say, hey, what does it cost to come and get these things done?
Right?
Yeah.
I think
I mean-
so.
So
I mean, that's because people do look at our muni, I mean, I know Effie looks at it every day.
So, nombre, Epi's busy looking, trying to make money.
No, but it's.
I have to
it's-
call Epi for a job here pretty soon.
See, if we wanted that manager form of government,
Mhm.
then it could go on the ballot
Yeah.
and change our structure. Even if we're a type A general city, we can change it to where it's.
Yeah, like I was having a conversation the other day with somebody and they were saying, "But you know, you're the mayor, you know, aren't you like the boss over the city council?" And I'm like, "No, dude," I said, me and the city council, we're all on the same level. I'm not their leader, you know, we're all the same. We are responsible for doing things for the community. You know, well, I thought you were the main guy. You're in charge. You're supposed to be their leader. No, I said, we're not. There is no, I'm the leader. I said, my job is to just make sure to do the things that they want done for the city. And, you know, so no, I don't tell the city council. I said, I can make suggestions. I said, when we're trying to pass something or we're going to spend money, I can go to the council members and say, hey, look, we need to do this. This is why. I said, but eventually they have to vote, and they vote, you know, what they feel their conscience is and what they think is the best. Pues I thought you were like the, I said,
Yeah.
overall on paper, I said, I'm the chief executive. I oversee everything. I said, but as far as the council, I said, no, me and the council are all the same level. My chair isn't up higher than the nine guys next to me, right?
The
So,
mayor is a mediator between the city council and the city
and the city.
staff.
So,
But you're right. I mean, we
Yeah.
all work together as a group.
yeah, people don't understand that, and people expect because I'm the mayor, you know, I can do all these things, and I'm like, no, I said that it still has to go through city council and.
The
or-
council as a whole has more power than the mayor.
Yeah.
Mhm.
In reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just the way.
Say, hey, we want this on the agenda, and we put on there, and that's it.
And then, hey,
That's
three against two, and
Yeah, it's done deal.
And that's something that people don't really understand.
Yeah.
And then, of course, in the same conversation, they're like, well, what about that new guy? You know, what is his job? They don't know you yet. And I said, well, his job is to manage the day-to-day operations of the city and report back to us, you know, as a council. He has to kind of keep us in the loop. And so they were we were at the Stripes, and they were getting a little education on what, you know, our roles are. So,
I just tell them, you remember Billy Joe? Well, that's the position he's
Yeah.
got.
Yeah, Billy Joe, Randy Ray.
Yes.
mm,
But he's a,
There you go.
Billy Joe.
Billy Joe, tell him.
I think we need to look at somewhere down the line. Like I was thinking about, like, and this is just off the subject, right? The community center, you know, when time comes to kind of make it nicer and bigger, actually recognize Billy Joe as,
Oh, yeah.
you know, the Odom, Billy Joe, whatever community center or something, because she
What
was,
about
wanted
this
to do
park?
that before she passed on, and she
I
said,
think the
no.
part, the community center
We,
would be.
we
nice.
wanted to name a park after
Yeah.
her, and she said, no, I said, I don't want it.
Yeah, no.
She didn't want. the
Anything
pictures.
else?
No, we don't.
Social media. Where's we gonna put that to? Who can put,
That's for y'all to.
who can put stuff on social media?
There is a official city page, and I put that, or I will tell someone in the office if I don't have time to do it. But mainly it's just
Like for
for
water breaks and stuff?
water breaks, leaks, hydrants,
But you don't have a Facebook page.
the city does.
The city does?
Yeah. Yeah,
That's what I'm
it's a,
saying.
do a search.
We, cause,
What is it under?
City of Odom,
How come I never see any?
that's what I asked
maybe,
that question.
because you're not our friend.
You have to like the page.
I need to friend you.
I didn't friend you. I defriended you.
The PD had it, and
That's what I'm.
The city would let the PD know, hey, can you put that there's a water leak here?
Well,
We're gonna be down for 3 hours or whatever, and then
well,
we'll do
then
that.
somebody must have created a.
Yeah, we
Facebook page
created
in the
it.
Previous, no one.
See, 'cause they always say,
Yeah, it was,
"Oh, to the mayor's
well,
page."
yeah, but they
Yeah.
didn't use it a whole lot. They created it
Somebody created it.
even before I came in,
Yes.
but they weren't really using it. It
What
was
I'm trying to
just,
say is that, oh, I went to the mayor's page. I said, don't go to the mayor's page, go to the city.
Yeah.
has- That's where and that where the mayor said, I said, wait. the
Is it on the
mayor-
west?
there are
On the
some
website
things,
where people can go in there?
yeah.
That's what I'm saying, because people ask me where the mayor, I said, oh, no, look at the city. The mayor has this.
What I usually do is if he'll let me know, hey, I'm gonna post this.
Right.
And so when I see it, I share it on my
Yeah.
page because there are some people who follow my page, but don't follow the city page.
And the reason
So-
I say that is like, okay, say you put, I'm gonna, put 6 lights on downtown. Okay, you're friends with Elizabeth. Oh, I'm for it. You're friends with me. I'm for it. He's for it. That's a quorum.
Yeah,
That's a quorum. So.
well, there's
that's what
nothing.
You gotta watch it.
Nothing's gonna go on either one of the pages that requires you guys to vote. It's just information stuff, like we're having this meeting on Sunday, or Saturday, we're having
But say,
City
but
Council.
it'll be the Odom, Odom, City
Yeah.
of Odom.
City of Odom.
So he'll do it, okay.
And then when I see it, I usually will share it.
'Cause people ask me, well, the mayor said, wait, the mayor, yeah, but look at our city thing, we have a water. Yeah, water break was a big.
Here you
big
go,
thing.
Billy. It's that City of Odom. All you gotta do is press like or something, and then you'll start getting, you can't really comment on it, can you?
Yeah.
You
You
can.
can comment.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You can comment, you can share, you can do all
Okay.
that.
But I don't comment just because we don't have time, so, hopefully people will just go.
Yeah, so we gotta watch it, if we all comment.
Somebody has to be the.
That's like how I brought the subject up.
If we, I think that, I mean, couldn't we turn around and fix it to where no comments can be made or anything?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can
It
do
but
might
that.
be the best thing to
But
do.
then what if they
Yeah.
need to ask a question?
Yeah, but we don't,
We're informational.
that's a whole other
Yeah,
job
that's what I'm
to
saying.
monitor that, so it's more like.
Well, you can lock it where,
No
comments aren't
That's what I'm
allowed.
saying.
Yeah,
I feel that
you
I feel that that would be more better than for it just to be.
On social media.
informational versus-
Yeah, because
Cause then you
a
get
lot of people
controversy.
think that the mayor, because it says mayor, but that's his personal.
That's
thing.
what,
Now,
the mayor said this, hey, wait,
No,
the mayor can say anything.
I know you already took it off, but I did disagree when you put the city logo, because that's your page. And I mean, look at what happened this weekend. I mean, they're dogging you out, man. You know what I'm saying?
And that's all
And
right.
I'm trying to, like I said,
So people think that it's a city page,